We on?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. My name is Jordan Mosley. It's my co-host, Stephen Untied.
How's it going?
We're the co-host of UntiedJordans, sports podcast. Getting right into it, man. Today's date is Monday, December the 9th, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Monday, December the 9th. That being said, we got almost an hour and 30-minute show for you guys this morning. We're talking NFL talk, college football, college basketball, NBA, Major League Baseball, the free agency getting hot as far as like winter meetings coming up very, very soon down in Florida. The boxing game, another fight announcement for December 28th, and a little small amount of soccer news, a little bit of soccer conversation, if you will. From there, we'll also the athlete's quote of the day will come from Vince Lombardi when he says, and this is a short, like I guess, snippet of the quote, but this is a quote saying that I firmly believe in a man's finest hour, that he finds himself most victorious when his head is bloody and he's got his head down, he's bloodied and he's bloodied by the head, but he also comes off and leaves the field victorious. That's when Vince Lombardi felt like a man was to be found in his finest hour, if you will.
You want to hear something crazy about that?
Sure.
Real quick? That was actually my high school senior quote.
Really?
Yep. Was man's not truly victorious till he's left it out on the field.
Gotcha.
In a win or something like that.
Gotcha.
But exactly the quote you're talking about. Gotcha. That was my high school.
Yeah, I had a
quote. Vince Lombardi's. Of course, I think he's one of the greatest coaches ever as a Packers fan.
So. I mean, other than Bill Belichick, he's probably the greatest coach of all time. But different conversation for a different day, I guess.
There's a few.
Facts. Definitely there's definitely a more than two coach conversation. Today's show is brought to you by Coach Jordan Football Consultation out of Charlotte, North Carolina. The contact number for that is 470-426-7354. Obviously, I'm Coach Jordan. I work with 8th graders to 12th graders, offensive lineman, defensive lineman. If you work with me beyond the 10th grade, I try to guarantee you at least a half scholarship to get to college. So, with that being said, jumping right into it, Thursday night review. Who played Thursday night?
Thursday night, this past Thursday?
Yeah, this past Thursday night.
Okay. It was the Cowboys and the Bears.
Yeah.
And it was ugly by the Cowboys. Dak puts up huge yard numbers, but it's all from behind. It's because he has to.
Right.
And when this is why Jason Garrett's going to lose his job, why Kellen Moore is not experienced enough yet. They got this dude named Ezekiel Elliott, who has led the league in rushing 2 out of the 3 years he's been in the league.
Right.
Only reason he didn't the other years because he missed 4 games.
I agree.
On a ridiculous suspension.
And by the way, they still have, in my opinion, the top 3 offensive line in the NFL.
Absolutely.
By way of just personnel,
just talent-wise.
Talent-wise.
They're not cohesive as they were in the past this year, but I think it's just because they've had a couple injuries that's put them in and out of the lineup.
Well, I'll say this.
And they're not running enough.
Right.
They're not getting in rhythm during the game with Zeke.
I agree. Like having certain parts of the game where we're committed to running the ball, period.
And they're not getting that lead where Zeke, what he's done his whole career is that fourth quarter, you're too tired to keep going.
Right.
He'll get 4 yards and 8 yards and 12 yards, and then he just keeps pounding you, and they're not doing that. They're not feeding him the way they should.
I agree
with his talent.
I agree with you. With the O-line, little slight comment. Not so much non-cohesive. I think they have good cohesion. You got Lyle Collins, Connor Williams. No, excuse me. Here's where your cohesion messes up. You start off the season with Connor Williams, number 52 at left guard. Now you have Xavier Su'a-Filo at number 76 at left guard. Now, you would think they would put a guy like Joe Looney there, but apparently Joe Looney is the back of the Travis Frederick as a true center, not a guard. So there you go.
Okay.
But with that being said, you got Lyle, you got Zach, you got Travis, and you got Tyron. You got 4 out of your 5 who's played together the last 2 years running. So I think that cohesion is eventually going to wake up in the next 3 weeks. But I hope that also, because of the fact that I'm a diehard Philadelphia Eagles football fan, that we won't find ourselves in a position where that takes place against my Eagles in a couple of weeks.
That division, unless somehow Eli Manning pulls it out tonight, which I don't see, that division is going to come down to week 16.
I agree.
Dallas versus Philly.
And I'm definitely pulling against the New York Giants tonight, who, by the way, the New York Giants tonight are playing my Philadelphia Eagles. 8:20 kickoff. If I'm not mistaken, the game is in Philly.
Yes.
The game is in Philly.
Daniel Jones is out.
Exactly.
Eli Manning's back in for maybe the last start of his career. I think Daniel. They might shut him down. You think they're going to shut him down for the rest of the season?
I feel like this. Eli Manning's days are done in New York. I don't know what they're going to do.
Oh, so you think next season he's going to be somewhere?
Yeah, starting
in
the NFL. I think he's still serviceable. if you can keep him healthy, if you can keep him protected.
Maybe like while Burrow sits for 8 games in Miami to get the offense down or something like that.
Maybe I see him going to somebody who's going to take a quarterback in the first round this year because they're going to have to want to develop a guy. But that's a lot. That's a lot to say. That's a mouthful. Yeah. There's a lot of moving parts that have to take place with that. Sure. To give people, I guess, a predictive score for the game tonight, I'm going with my Eagles 31-17. I think Carson Wentz finally wakes up out of his anemic performance coma that he's been in the last 2 to 3 weeks. And I feel like our defense kind of goes from here to here. And I feel like our defense is definitely the better part of our team right now on my beloved Philadelphia Eagles. So we shall see.
I had a 31-9. I think that Giants offense, I think Saquon's still a little banged up, and Eli Manning's just going to be.
Also, for all my fantasy football watchers out there, all my fantasy football, not watchers, but all my fantasy football followers and my fantasy football participants, my players in fantasy football, Evan Ingram is out tonight. The starting tight end number 88 for the New York Giants. Evan Ingram is out this evening. So just letting you guys know that. From there, we'll jump straight into the NFL. We'll jump straight into the NFL. Well, the AFC playoff race. Excuse me, guys. With that being said, right now, if I'm not mistaken, the number 1 seed is still held by the Baltimore Ravens.
It is.
The number 2 seed is now owned by the
Patriots.
By the Patriots still, even after they took the loss yesterday in New England. That touchdown call, or the touchdown call that was taken away, if you break the pylon, that should be a touchdown, but that's just my personal opinion. Number 1. Number 2, big shout out to Kansas City's defensive line. You know, Chris Jones and company definitely getting back there. Definitely getting back there. He gave Ferentz number 66 from the Patriots all he wanted last night. But then again, Ferentz is 6'2", to Chris Jones is 6'5", so he killed him with what we call in football a swim technique. Looked like you're swimming through a pool. It was really, really good play. Really, really good interior D-line play by the Chiefs last night. Big shout out to the DBs. Juan Thornhill, Tyrann Mathieu all over the place last night. Bubble screens all over Julian Edelman last night, like flies to poop. You know what I mean? It was really, really good. It was really good defense played by the Chiefs last night. I feel like the Patriots were kind of but this is the time of year, literally for the past 6-7 years, where New England is kind of and then they get out of that funk and then they roll into the Super Bowl.
Belichick gets his playoff defensive call playbook out, and it just goes crazy.
I agree.
But I think it's different this year. Because of the teams in the AFC that are going to make the playoffs, they all have firepower in some way or the other.
Right.
And I think the Patriots don't. They don't have... Tom Brady is only trusting Edelman, so his whole thing is quick passes. 3-step drop, it's out of my hands.
Right.
He can't do that if he doesn't trust what option his wide receiver is going to take on an option route, or if he's going to be in the right time. So having Jacoby Myers and N'Keal Harry, rookies that are just not who Tom Brady's going to trust.
Right.
If you focus on Edelman, put 8 dudes in the box, 7 or 8 guys in the box.
You're going to make somebody else. Tom Brady doesn't depend on the beat chain.
I don't know if they can score 20 points against any of the teams, the high-level teams in the AFC.
I can see that for sure. Who do you think?
Not that their defense couldn't shut down a team.
True. I understand wholeheartedly because scheme is everything.
Games.
Right.
But the offense just worries me.
Not so much the last 2-3 weeks, but New England's defense before 2 weeks ago, they were playing on a historic top 10 defense of all time in a particular regular season or a particular one-season level.
So, what scares me, man, Houston and Tennessee have 2 games left this season against each other.
Right.
And Tennessee's a scary team.
Right.
I think Ryan Tannehill's been underrated his whole career because he puts up great stretches and then he does get hurt.
I agree.
So if they can keep him healthy and keep him upright, because they have a very good O-line, I think, and Derrick Henry is running the hell out of the ball.
Okay, cool.
He's finally looked like a 6'4", 240-pound running back should look, you think.
I think he came on last year. I think the light turned over.
Yeah, the last 4 games, he ate.
Right.
I think he had almost 700 yards the last 4 games last year.
Right, exactly. So we on the same page. Like, I felt like, now that stat line is one thing, but I also feel like that played itself into a position where, how can I say this? The light turned on when he had that 99-yard run on Thursday night last year against Jacksonville. He realized, okay, I can be the biggest ball carrier in the NFL, and nobody on an 11-man defense can still catch me.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a big hump to get over when you're that big of a guy.
He gets to that second level, and he just turns on that stride, and he's gone.
Yulee, Florida kid, Florida speed.
And you know what happened,
on a 6'3", 230-pound running back.
Last year, when he was struggling, Eddie George and him actually met up Eddie George, obviously a Hall of Fame Tennessee running back,
Right.
their best
and
running
another
back.
big back. Eddie George was 6'1", 6'2" throughout his whole career, 220, 225.
He went to Derrick Henry. He said, "Dude, you're too talented to not have 100 yards a game,
Right.
average at least."
Right.
And he just essentially set him down and said, "You're going to be out of this league in 2 or 3 years if you don't turn it around and use your talent and your size and your ability the way you can."
I agree.
And then instantly it was like a light clicked for Derrick Henry. And I think the Bills are the falsest 9-4 team I've ever seen.
I wouldn't say they're a false 9-4 team. They just don't play well up. If that makes any sense.
Any competition that is on their level.
But by the same token, in the defense of the Buffalo Bills players and the coach, Sean McDermott, who I think is one of the better coaches in the NFL period, especially like defensively speaking. Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
But they still don't have that guy. Like, you got your Davius White. You got Tremaine Edmonds, who had a hell of a game yesterday.
He's looking impressive.
You got Jerry Hughes, who, in my opinion, is still one of the most underrated edge players on the NFL. DN, pass rusher. He sets the edge well in the run. He's a complete edge guy. I still think he's one of 3 or 4 guys like that in all the NFL, period. Who's super underrated. Not saying there aren't, like, there's guys like that established, but he's super underrated. I feel like Jerry Hughes is super underrated. So, to the NFC playoff race. Once again, unlike the AFC, super top heavy. You got, if I'm not mistaken, San Francisco's the number 1 seed as of today. New Orleans is 2.
No, actually the Packers are. I don't know
so y'all
what
are
the tiebreaker is,
second,
but yeah, the Packers are 2.
Okay.
Saints are 3. Same record, 10-3.
Okay, cool.
The Eagles and Cowboys, it's just they're going to be the 4th seed.
The Eagles and Cowboys are going to come out the 4th.
And then the Vikings and Seahawks. It looks pretty clear those are going to be the 6 teams.
Right.
And honestly, with the balance of the Vikings, the defensive talent, they can shut down a team any week.
Right.
They're a scary team.
Right.
The Seahawks, Jadeveon Clowney making plays. They picked off Jared Goff twice yesterday. It didn't help. Obviously, their offense looked anemic. The Rams have been stepping their defensive game up a huge step since the beginning of the season.
I wouldn't say their offense looked anemic, and I'm so glad that you said that because I've been waiting to pull up this point. Their offense doesn't look anemic. If you ask me in my personal opinion,
I just mean last night.
No. I get what you're saying. We're talking. You're giving me an opinion per what you just seen most recently.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm dissecting that opinion a little bit. I feel like their offensive line is porous, to say and that's being kind.
Oh, for sure.
You have a older Dwayne Brown who's serviceable, but when he plays against a kid who's a little bit more talented than his veteran tutelage that he's earned in the NFL over being an 8 or 10 year vet at this point, I believe, playing left tackle, then it's like, okay, it shows. You know what I mean? You got Jermaine Fetty, who I think is the worst right tackle in the NFL, and he has no 3-point flexion.
I thought he was a guard for the longest time.
He was a tackle.
He should have been a guard.
He was a guard at Texas A&M because he played next to Luke Jokel, who went to the league and was pie with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't even think Luke Jokel's in the league anymore.
No, he's not.
But he was a 2nd overall pick, so he should never go broke. But by the same token, Jermaine Fetty, worst right tackle in the NFL. No 3-point flexion. This is what I mean by no 3-point flexion. At the knee, the ankle, and the hip, or the hip, knee, ankle, up to like top to bottom, he has terrible flexion, which allows him to always have to kick back and put himself in such a deep part of the pocket when Russell Wilson's setting up. Russell Wilson ain't but so big, y'all. So when he's collapsing the pocket by way of taking 1,000 kicks because he can't jump set a guy at the point of attack, it makes his game very, very, very vulnerable. So I hate Jermaine Fetty.
And I think up until the last 2 weeks, I think Lamar Jackson is starting to put a clamp on the MVP race. But up until then, because of that, Russell Wilson has been playing so great.
Oh, Russell Wilson
until the last 4 weeks.
Before I saw the spin move, and I'm not saying that one play against the Bengals put Lamar in my MVP race, but before I saw that highlight, Russell Wilson was my MVP. And then I think we can agree the last month, Lamar Jackson has
and they've been beating
snatched
teams.
that bad boy from him.
Been beating great teams the last month.
Right.
I think their last 5 games.
Right, exactly. He's
won 9 in a row.
And he's beating great teams with great quarterbacks. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's super important too.
The craziest stat I think in the NFL, Lamar Jackson, second quarterback to have 1,000 yards rushing in a season, broke that last night. Right. He's gonna destroy Mike Vick's record. Right. By 200-300 yards. Maybe.
Who's the third guy on that list? All time.
No, that's it.
I'm asking you.
What do you mean? Like who's third rushing?
Third
Cunningham, I think, had 700 in a season, or Mike Vick had 700 in a season. And
I'm gonna let you finish. I'm gonna give you an answer.
Okay.
Go ahead. Oh, Bobby Douglas Chicago Bears,
Okay.
mid '70s, early '80s, pre-Super Bowl Bears, pre-Super Bowl
Jimmy
Bears.
McMahon.
Yeah. Okay. White dude. Bobby. Hey.
Craziest stat I think in the NFL.
Back in the day, so they say.
Lamar Jackson is leading the league with 28 touchdown passes, which is a low number for this late in the season for a normal NFL season, but especially the last couple of years.
That's just the.
It's incredible. His running ability is giving him such open passing lanes.
Right.
It's the offensive game Greg Roman has called this season has been, I think, the most impressive thing all season. If you could give a coordinator coach of the year, he should get it. I think Tomlin's going to win NFL coach of the year because they're in the playoff race with a
They're in the playoff race with a kid named Duck Hodges as the quarterback who's undefeated as a starter in the NFL.
He's better at duck calling than he is at football. Like, he has a national championship duck caller.
Well, that I didn't know.
Crazy.
But what I will say is this, because I didn't know that's why his nickname was Duck.
Yeah.
Because I didn't. But by the same token, it's crazy how a guy like that can come out of nowhere and just show you like the value of being prepared at the moment to get your moment and go crazy.
Garner Minshew.
Yeah, but by the way, we would gladly, as Philadelphia Eagles fans, we would gladly take Nick Foles and trade him to Jacksonville. Take Carson Wentz and trade him to Jacksonville for Nick Foles. No bull, no.
They want him back.
Just putting that out there. Updated list of teams not going to the playoffs: the Bengals, the Lions, the Falcons, the Cardinals, the Giants, the Dolphins, the Carolina Panthers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Help me out if I'm missing anybody. I'm pretty sure the New York Jets are not going to the playoffs once again.
Dolphins.
I think we mentioned a little bit of every division because there's only 8 divisions. The Arizona Cardinals.
I don't think the Bears are going to make it either. They're 7-6 now.
Because of the way that Mitchell Trubisky, because it's been the hottest conversation in my house the last 2 weeks. Because of the fact that Mitchell Trubisky is waking up, I'm kind of getting on the Bears train. But I wasn't on the Bears train 2 weeks ago. I was riding with the Bears
train looks like when Trubisky's the conductor? It looks like this. It looks like a roller coaster. Because that dude will throw. I mean, he had a 5-touchdown game last year, and then the next week he had 3 interceptions. Right. He's done that this year. I think the last couple of weeks he has been consistently getting better.
But I think he's going to hit his stride with that because one thing I think Matt Nagy is good at, from what I see at least, he's really, really good at okay, this is working. So I'm going to let this work throughout the weeks, but I'm going to try to dress it up, and I'm going to try to window dress it, and I'm going to try to put a little bit less makeup on this and put a little bit more jewelry on that so that it can look a little bit different, but it can still be the same shit. We do a motion
that doesn't really mean anything, but it adds another wrinkle that defense has to pay attention to.
All you sports fans out there, that's in the NFL and in football, it's called window dressing. Like window dressing. You know what I'm saying? That's called window dressing. You make it look like one thing when it's going to be something else. Although throughout the season when you're reviewing it on film, it looks like that, but it ain't going to be that. It's going to be something different. It's going to be a different tie or a different tag to that play. Just a little FYI.
And with the defensive talent they have, the team will be scary if Trubisky figures it out. I don't think he will this year, but I think next year he could. Right. They're going to give him one more year, I think, for sure. But that defense, the young talent on there with Roquan Smith, Sharif Floyd, Khalil Mack, Eddie Jackson, they're solid at it. Kyle Fuller
coming back from being injured. When Akeem Hicks is healthy, he's the most dominant D lineman in football.
Oh, I mean, he
throws grown men.
Stopper.
Bro, he throws grown men.
It's Vince Wilfork in his prime. It's the dude just.
I feel like this.
Or Hainsworth in his prime.
If Albert Hainsworth, Gilbert Brown, and Vince Wilfork had a baby, it'd be Akeem Hicks because he's 6'5", he's tall,
350,
and he plays at like 330, but 20 pounds really in the NFL. It's no difference. So he's 6'5", he plays at about 340. Let's meet in the middle. He plays about 340. He's got hands literally like maple syrup size sausage hands. It's ridiculous. It's retarded. So a little bit more to the Monday night preview for tonight. Is Eli Manning a Hall of Famer?
You know, we talked about this last night for a second. You mentioned it and had me thinking about it. I've been thinking about it. I think no. Even the runs his team made to the Super Bowl.
Defensive
Strahan's more important than him. Justin Tuck's more important than him. O.C. Umenyiora, JPP. Those dudes are studs. They're Hall of Fame level talent. Maybe they didn't have that career because of injuries and things.
Right.
But
because Strahan's the only gold jacket guarantee out of the four that you named.
For sure.
And by the way, Matthias.
And Tuck is close. I think Tuck's borderline.
Justin Tuck had a very, very mediocre career after New York. That's what killed his Hall of Fame status for me. Although he does have 2 rings from something that he did.
And those front sevens on those teams, I think, were all-time front sevens. The talent, the scheme they played with, Coughlin's toughness obviously ran through that team.
Right.
And I don't think he is. He didn't. And it sucks because he's had some of his best games in those moments. He's been clutch in the playoffs. That throw he had to Manningham in the 2012 Super Bowl, the second one against the Patriots, is one of the best throws I've ever seen in that situation with the pressure on him. I mean, it's perfect down the sidelines on the left.
Now, 4 things to me make up a Hall of Famer. I'm not a Hall of Fame voter. Like, my dad played in the league for about 4 years for the Skins as a safety in the 70s. Played for the over-the-hill gang George Allen Redskins. But with that being said, 4 things make up a Hall of Famer, in my opinion. In my opinion. Clutch factor, overall career wins, overall career outlook, body of work. What did you do to promote the game, or what did you do to like how did your presence transcend the game? And last but not least, championships. Peyton Manning is a better quarterback than his little brother all time. So he didn't really reinvent the wheel because you were already coming in on daddy and the big brother's curtails. Call it what it is. You were the last #1 pick to tell somebody I'm not coming. So that goes to show you
that's gutsy.
Not even gutsy. Because
the pull his family already had in the league, is that what you mean?
But it just goes to show you how conditioned I am in pro football. How many kids do you know that are 21 years old have
that
the
are
mind
savvy enough to say?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So that comes from...
I'm not going to the Chargers.
Right, so that comes from a situation where my daddy, who's been in the league my whole life, can tell me, hey, I know Spanos personally. This is not going to work. My older brother's telling me, hey, I talked to Philip. I think Drew Brees had just left San Diego to go to Miami at the time. Hey, I just talked to Drew Brees. Drew Brees wanted out of there. Don't go to San Diego. This is your brother. Bye. Like, kind of thing. So it's a situation where I feel like it had to play itself out the way it did to show people how much of a big dog Eli Manning was before he ever stepped in the NFL. To where he could call his own shot like that at that level. Like, that's a big deal.
And what's crazy about that bet that worked...
Does that make him a Hall of Famer? No, but just...
San Diego has been a super talented team under Phillip Rivers. I would say more talented, more seasons than the Giants were under Eli Manning. Even the Super Bowl years. There was years where San Diego was going 14-2. They literally had the top-ranked defense and offense in the league, and then would lose to the Patriots or lose to the Colts or lose to
here's your kicker.
A Steelers team.
Here's the gag. The gag of that is this. The O-line play as a unit for the San Diego Chargers has been really, really patchwork the last 15, 20 years. I can't name a Pro Bowl O-lineman outside of Nick Hardwick who's been for the San Diego Chargers.
Did Fluker get it one year? I think Fluker might have had it one year.
Maybe had it.
Maybe.
But
you know what I'm saying?
That's a big maybe. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
If I'm not mistaken, I think San Diego drafted DJ Fluker. Yeah. I don't know who drafted. I gotta look that up.
But a couple years ago, they were having LT having record-setting rushing touchdown seasons.
We're talking more like 13 years ago, bro. Like, he did that in 06, 07.
But I mean, Phillip was there. That's what I mean. Eli would have been there then. He was drafted in 03 or 04. Yeah, 04.
Yeah, they both came out 03 years. Draft. Right.
And seeing the organizational success that the New York has had over time, and like you're saying, being that savvy coming into the league, you're seeing Eli Manning being able to look into the future a little bit and say, even though there's so much talent in San Diego, my future's going to be set up better organizationally because the Giants have been there. They know what they're doing.
Right.
I think it's the Mara family that owns the Giants.
No, the Mara family. Mara's and the Tisches. T-I-S-C-H. Yeah. Facts. Thursday night preview. The New York Jets versus the Baltimore Ravens at Baltimore. I think one or two things are going to happen. Either the Baltimore Ravens are going to win, and depending on the weather in Baltimore, if it was anything like they just had it for the last home game against the Niners and it's like a monsoon, they're going to win by a close margin, and it's going to be a good physical slobber knocker game. If the weather's nice regardless of temperature, if the weather outside is nice that night, Lamar Jackson is going to have his marquee display of talent this whole season, other than the highlight play that he had against other than his Rams performance on Monday Night Football and the highlight play against Cincinnati. He's going to have it this Thursday. I believe.
Predict his third perfect passer rating of the season if the weather's nice. Is that what you're saying?
I don't mind saying that.
That's historic, man. No one's even done it twice since like the '60s or something. You know, when Y.A. was out there throwing 8 passes a game.
But the beautiful trend of Lamar Jackson is, you know, this is the same kid that we didn't even think could run the RPO out of Louisville, and he's literally conquered the world. So if I were to gamble on that, if I was to bet on that, as we say where I'm from, if I was to bet on that, I'm betting on Buddy. I'm betting on that because at the end of the day, he's the most dominant. He's arguably the most enigmatic. That means he's an enigma. He's a headache. He's the most enigmatic, most dominant quarterback to touch the NFL in at least the last 2-3 years. Not even. I
mean, since Cam's MVP year, haven't seen anything like it. With the energy,
since Cam's rookie year, because Cam came in as a rookie and took over the league by storm because you didn't see that.
4,000
you thought you saw that with RG3. You thought you see that with RG3. It didn't happen. Yeah. I think RG3 came the year after Cam because that was the year.
The year before, because it was RG3, Andrew Luck, and Russell Wilson.
Okay,
and then Cam was right the next year.
Man, what if the Washington Redskins had thought to have drafted Russell Wilson in the first round?
If anyone would have in the first 2 rounds, because I think he was a third round pick, man. That still blows my mind to this day. Watching him.
What if the Colts had Russell Wilson right now, and Tom Brady had to see that shit in the playoffs? That's a trip. But getting from there, Ron Rivera, he's out in Carolina. Kind of old news at this point.
Well, what's your Thursday night prediction?
I got Baltimore beating the Jets. I have Baltimore beating the Jets 38-6.
I had a 38-17.
Yeah,
you know, Darnold gets a late time touchdown.
Now, here, the last thing I'll say about that prediction is this. There is one player on the field for the New York Jets that can kind of make it an even game, and I would like to kind of see this because I haven't really seen anything really amazing from Le'Veon yet. Yeah, it's on Le'Veon.
Oh, okay. Sure. I was going to say Jamal Adams just because they might put him as a spy on Lamar.
Touche.
And he's one of the athletes that might be able to contain him a little bit. You can only contain him so much.
I agree with that, but my thing is Le'Veon can touch the ball.
Oh, I love Le'Veon. Compared
to Jamal Adams. The Jamal Adams Lamar Jackson matchup I didn't think about. I'm not gonna lie to you. So that's fair. That's 1A. Okay,
but the number one thing that was just a guess I was throwing out there.
I mean, you know, this what
he looks like the best young safety in the game right now.
Facts. I agree with that. But my thing is, I feel like ultimately Le'Veon, if Le'Veon can have a vintage Le'Veon game, it's going to be a great Thursday night game. But I haven't seen Le'Veon in 2 weeks. Not 2 weeks. I haven't seen Le'Veon this season. Not for real. Like, kind of looking for your Le'Veon Bell. I'm putting out an APV on Le'Veon Bell, man. Where's he at?
I'd put 8 guys in the box and make Sam Darnold beat me too if I was playing the Jets this year.
Right. Continuing on, guys, with these NFL headlines. The white sleeves and white glove that was worn by Lamar Jackson yesterday in the first half against the Buffalo Bills. Some people say that he wore it because it was ridiculously cold in Buffalo. Some people say that he wore that and a white glove obnoxiously on purpose to kind of cater to what Tim Ryan said earlier this week. My 2 cents this week is on Tim Ryan. This is going to be the shortest my 2 cents that we have in the history of Untied Jordans. Tim Ryan, you were an idiot for what you said. There's no way to justify what you said. There's no way to sugarcoat what you said. There's no way to try to dress it up, or put lipstick on a pig that is that ridiculously hideous of what you said about the greatest talent that we would have seen in the NFL this year and one of the top budding black athletes in professional sports right now, period. You were completely out of line. I feel like you were terribly underpunished. You know what I mean? And as a man as a black man with a sports figure, with a place or with a position in sports media, you were ridiculously out of line. You should be ashamed of yourself. Period. I'm saying this in this camera, Instagram, and Facebook. You should be ridiculously ashamed of yourself. And I'm gonna leave it at that. So with that being said,
to add my 2 cents to that, I agree. I mean, like you said, it's the shortest one we could do.
Right.
I couldn't believe someone said that live on TV. Right. I couldn't believe it. I understand people, like, there's slip of the tongues and you mispronounce a word or you say something
or you
funny
butcher
or
a kid's
silly.
name,
yeah,
whatever.
You say something you don't mean to say, but he meant to say it. It was... It's just it don't even make sense to me.
And for those who don't know the exact quote,
that ignorance.
This is one thing I will say about Tim Ryan. They did a very bad job in media of chopping his quote up. His quote, and I quote, "It's amazing to see how his dark skin in a dark uniform can help cover up a dark colored ball." That's exactly what he said, word for word. There's nothing in that statement that can validate that statement, if that makes any sense. And as this is starting to kind of frustrate me even talking about it, I'm going to move forward. Matt Ryan, the 10th quarterback in the history of the NFL to 50,000 passing yards. Now I'm on the side here. So I think that's really irrelevant because I think Matt Ryan is going to be the greatest statistical quarterback of all time that never did anything with it. You know, so Falcons fans feel how you want to feel about that. I can really care less.
He's second fastest behind Drew Brees to 50,000 yards.
Yeah, but you got Drew Brees versus Matt Ryan. That's like a filet mignon sandwich versus Hot Pocket. It's not the same to me.
But every once in a while, the Hot Pocket's clutch. So I like that analogy. It's clutch every once in a while, you know.
The Hot Pocket do that.
But like my thing about that, like you said. Yardage is the most useless stat in the NFL now because you can scheme people open so much. Dak Prescott leads the league in passing yards.
Well, this is my thing. We got to also speak to what Dak's got as weaponry, too. Perfect example of what I'm saying. Jameis Winston is not a better quarterback than most quarterbacks in the NFL this year, but he's got two 1,000-yard receivers, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. Mike Evans just recently had a mark where he's been a 1,000-yard receiver in his first 6 consecutive seasons. In his first 7 consecutive seasons. He broke Randy Moss's record of having 1,000 yards straight in his first 6 seasons. So my point is, O.J. Howard, Ronald Jones, these are some of the guys he's got down in Tampa Bay along with that. I feel like having tools in your toolbox can equal passing yard numbers, but you see a guy like Russell Wilson, or a guy like
wins,
right? Or not even that. Well, wins too. But you see a guy like Russell Wilson or a guy like Lamar Jackson, who maybe I would assume that Lamar Jackson has under 2,700 yards passing this year.
He's at 25.
Right. Okay. Cool. Thank you. So my point though is that's not a lot. Yeah. Matt Ryan's the 10th to 50 yards. He's the 10th quarterback to 50 grand, and all y'all have, and we say 50 grand is 50,000 passing yards. He's the 10th quarterback to get to 50,000 passing yards, and you know, the best thing he has to show y'all is a 25-point debacle in the Super Bowl because he didn't have enough balls to call his own script in the third quarter for him to get out of there with a Super Bowl win. Let's call it what it is. Odell Beckham, he finally says and admits to the fact that he wants out in Cleveland. Now, two-part situation with this, guys. He has a sports hernia that he's dealt with since training camp. He's been trying to figure out for the last 8 weeks if he's trying to have surgery, and per a source, Miss Josina Anderson from ESPN putting out via text message she got from Odell yesterday, because I guess they text like in real life. She said on ESPN that Odell was saying he still has not yet made a decision on the surgery, and that could potentially be per him trying to figure out his next suitor, or if he even wants to give the Cleveland Browns thing a chance. I'm not done with Odell as a player. I can't wait to see Odell healthy because I think Odell Beckham still is one of the most electrifying men in professional football with the football in his hands. But what I will say is this. You can't want to come to Cleveland with your main partner, with your main boy, your main running buddy, Jarvis Landry, and all that good stuff, and then you find yourself in a space where less than 12 months later you want out. Baker Mayfield maybe not getting you the ball. Freddie Kitchens may not be calling the right plays to get you the ball. That's cool. We're not knocking none of that. I'm not talking smack about none of that. But what I am going to say, and what does bother me about Odell Beckham's situation is, man, you got to find what's best for you. He makes money off of making these different moves that he makes, but as you can see, it's kind of difficult for him to find himself in a space where he's comfortable to want to build a foundation and want to continue to build on that foundation until he can make a mound of something. So I feel like ultimately, with the Odell situation, man, he can continue he can continue things on at this rate if he so chooses, but I don't know if it's going to ever cater to the success he's supposed to have on the field. But then again, when you're hurt, you can't be who you're supposed to be. Yeah. So if he's had a sports hernia since August, and it's December now, you may as well go and get surgery.
And I think it's clear he's been not quite what he's been.
I think he's gotten lost in translation in Cleveland because there's some type of disconnect between him and the person calling the plays, not necessarily Baker Mayfield.
No. I just meant because of his injury. Like, okay, I think it's clear he's a half step less than what OBJ usually is.
Right.
And I think that's affected his timing. I think it's affected, his relationship with Baker, because he's not getting the separation he usually gets where Baker's hitting him wide open for, those long touchdowns he's not able to take those 5-yard screen passes to the house.
Or take a 10-yard hits to the crib, stuff like that. Yeah.
I think them splitting up is good for both parties. I think that locker room is too full of weapons. You don't have enough plays to get everyone the ball that needs the ball there. But when you have a guy like Odell that should touch the ball 7 times a game as a receiver.
Right, but I'm not mad as a play caller if you don't touch this ball 7 times a game if Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, David Njoku, and Jarvis Landry carries it. Or if the next week comes and they got 8 in the box and they got a guy like, I don't know, Luke Kuechly or Shaq Thompson on Njoku, and then I got both of my wideouts eating. Or if I'm playing against a team like the Seattle Seahawks who love to cover shit up, and I want to play, and I got a 7-man box, I can let my two running backs work and let my tight end Njoku inline block.
So what I mean is that
it should work.
No, I'm not saying that it won't work. I'm saying all those personalities with Baker and Jarvis is a personality he doesn't get because he was in Miami on a terrible team forever, but the dude's great and he's a great interview.
Right.
Njoku's got a little bit of a person. Kareem Hunt does. Nick Chubb's a quiet dude. I like Nick Chubb a lot. He's just a workhorse, but
right.
I think with a new coach who doesn't know how to handle all those personalities yet, he doesn't. He's been a running backs and a quarterbacks coach. A head coach is a different animal because you're not teaching a dude how to play football. You're teaching a team how to be a team. Right. And that's a different role.
I agree with that. And you're not the only sports media figure out here who's really hard on Freddie Kitchens.
I don't think I'm hard on him. It's not his fault.
Let me rephrase. Not saying that you're hard on him.
You don't turn down that job.
True, but hear me out. This is what I'm saying. You're in the same boat of other sports media figures who feel like he's in over his head.
A little bit, yeah.
You know what I mean?
He does. And I think it feels that way.
Right, and the thing of it is in my opinion, I feel like he may be in over his head, but he's got enough talent you would think on paper to where that shit don't matter. But if you're also in over your head, you can't get this talent. It's like having a Ferrari. It's like having a Lamborghini in your driveway, or older Lamborghini in your driveway. You like vintage cars, for example, but you can't drive a stick. It does you no good. It does you no good. It does you. You can have 5 Lamborghinis. If you can't drive a stick, pre-2001, pre-2002, it was over.
And they traded a '69 Mustang for that Lamborghini. They traded Zeitler, their best offensive lineman, for OBJ.
Right.
I think it was a mistake for that. Their O-line is the weakest unit on that team this year, I believe.
I mean, yeah, but Joe Thomas's presence disguised how weak of an O-line that they've had for the last 4 or 5 years.
Well, I mean, when you had Joe Thomas and Alex Mack, that's a.
I'm talking about the 2 years of Joe Thomas after Alex Mack was gone.
I understand.
They still people in sports media felt like Cleveland had a good O-line, and you just had a Hall of Famer at left tackle.
No, I agree. I agree.
I'm not arguing. We're just conversing.
I think passing, pass blocking this year they've been weak. I think run blocking. I mean, Nick Chubb's leading the league in rushing, but you can't win consistently without that quarterback play anymore in the league. It just
I can agree with that.
The scores are too out of hand. It doesn't happen to win consistently with Baker playing as inconsistently as I've seen a quarterback play.
I can understand that
over the last couple of years. So
to the Carolina Panthers, Shaq Thompson, 4-year, $54.2 million deal with a $57 million max out at the end of the contract if he reaches all his incentive points. There's a $28 million guarantee clause in his contract. There's $12 million guaranteed through workout bonuses, roster bonuses, etc. He signed for $16 million. So what that means in contracts talk, people, is this. 3 parts to it. You got an overall number. His overall number is 54.2 with a max out of 57. He's got $28 million guaranteed. You hear a lot of people say $28 million guaranteed. You think he signed for $28 million. He didn't. $12 million of that money is going to go into what you call workout bonuses, roster bonuses, and things of that nature. Certain parts of the certain days of the year where he gets paid for being on the team by way of his contracts negotiation and by way of his contracts clauses and the different settings, if you will, of his contract or the different qualities or traits of his contract. The $16 million signing bonus, that's what he woke up with 24, 48 hours later after putting ink to pad, after putting ink to the paper. $16 million up more in the bank. A lot of money. But that's money, that whole 54.2, that's to be made all over time. I just wanted to try to educate people on sports contracts, because a lot of people think a guy gets a contract like that, he's just instantly up $54 million. Nah, he's got to play it out over 4 years and go crazy. So,
and I commend the Panthers for that signing. I think after losing Thomas Davis, you have to re-solidify that weak side linebacker. It's going to cover your tight ends, cover the slot receiver when he has to.
I agree with that, but I just wonder, and that's valid. That's a valid point.
He's not quite the athlete Thomas Davis was.
I think he's a better athlete,
but he's good. I don't know, dude. Young Thomas Davis. Still he's.
But you got to think about it. We're talking about the same kid, though. Thomas Davis was a strong safety at Georgia, came into the league, played weak side linebacker. Shaq Thompson was a strong safety at UW, came down, played weak side linebacker. Yeah, same kid. But
that's what I think they did.
But like today's athleticism versus yesterday's athleticism. I agree. And he's been above average in San Diego. He's been all right.
Yeah, he's been good this year.
So yeah.
I think losing Derwin James threw their whole season off. I think they'd be much.
I can go for that. I can go for that because I think Derwin James is one of the biggest size enigmas in the NFL. There's not too many guys 6'3", 225, 228, 220 pounds that can run around the defensive backfield and play with you and play with y'all and play with all you little fast guys out there. He can play with y'all boys every snap. The NFL
elite athlete.
I agree wholeheartedly. The NFL dropped their all 100 defensive back / special teams team this past Friday night. Mel Blount from the 70s Steelers, Ed Reed from the 2000s Ravens, Ronnie Lott from the 80s and 90s 49ers, and as well as the Jets and the Raiders. Rod Woodson, all-time Pittsburgh Steelers, arguably the best defensive back to ever play for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but he also is on arguably the best single-season defense of all time. He was a starting safety on the 2001 Baltimore Ravens championship defense. Big shout-out to Peter Boulware, Spring Valley Viking alum. Spring Valley High School Viking alum. Dick Night Train Lane, Detroit Lions of the 50s and the 60s. He was the first big DB in the NFL. If I'm not mistaken, Night Train Lane was like 6'3", 6'4", playing corner way before you could ever think about that being a thing.
Made the clothesline a staple.
Exactly.
For
quarterbacks. There would be no clothesline tackle in football without Dick Night Train.
You're not going over the middle against the Detroit Lions without a chance of losing some teeth.
Exactly.
His highlights are incredible. Just watch his highlights.
Facts. I feel like Dick Night Train Lane is definitely one of the top 10. No, excuse me. He's definitely one of the top 5 defensive players of all time of yesterday
that you don't know about.
Right. I'm saying
exactly. Pre-LT.
Pre-LT. Yeah, pre-LT.
Defense changed when LT came in the league.
Right. Now there's some guys all time back then with Night Train Lane that was that great.
Deacon Jones,
Ray Nitschke, my dude. But by the same token, like we just talked about Deacon. Deacon revolutionized the sack.
I mean, they didn't have it for his first 7-8 years of his career.
Right.
And he's like, I had 17 sacks in a game. He looked in the camera and said, I had 17 sacks in a game, watch the film. And I believe him.
Right. I can go for that. And
he was incredible.
The head slap, even though that's an illegal football move now. Mike Haynes, all-time DB for the LA Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs, if I'm not mistaken. Willie Brown, the best DB to ever play for the Oakland Raiders, period. Point blank. Cornerback number 24, played in the 70s with a brother named Jack Tatum, who would knock your dick in the dirt, by the way.
Isn't that crazy? They had him and Mel Blount. Or both on the Raiders.
Right.
All-time defensive. I mean, that's crazy to have
him
two.
And Ronnie Lott,
maybe the top. Oh, yeah. Ronnie Lott, too.
Right.
3 of maybe the top 5.
But I'm saying Mel Blount never played for the
players there.
Mel Blount just played for the Steelers. I'm not mistaken. I don't think
I don't know who I'm thinking of then. Maybe I'm thinking of someone else.
I don't know. You think, well, because you got Willie Brown,
Maybe that's I don't know. I thought for some reason I thought Mel Blount played for the Raiders.
Willie Brown and Jack Tatum played for the Raiders at the same time.
Yeah.
There's a third DB. We'll look it up. I'll look it up after the show. We'll come to that for y'all next week. We'll be able to find out who that third great DB was in that Oakland Raiders defensive backfield. Because I think it's the third guy. I can't think of his name at the moment either. All-time kickers. You have a guy named John Stenerud, who was the first ever international kicker in the NFL to have major success. After him, it was a guy named Gerald Yepremian, who was on the '72 Perfect Team Dolphins. John Stenerud was on he was on the first ever Super Bowl. He was on the first Super Bowl team, Kansas City Chiefs, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, I thought that's who you were talking about. Okay.
Adam Vinatieri,
of course.
The New England Patriots are thankful for at least a third of his success all time because of his right foot. So, Adam Vinatieri being who he is. Ray Guy, the Ray Guy Award that we'll talk about a little bit later in college football, in our college football segment, is he was a punter for the Raiders all time. The Ray Guy Award is named now for the nation's best punter out of college football. Shane Leckler. Big thing of why I left his last.
He made the list, man. I didn't even watch this list yet. He made it. That's great. He deserves it, dude. He's
best punter of my lifetime.
Oh, incredible, man. I mean, he pretty much coined the coffin corner punt.
Exactly. I remember playing the coffin corner punt game on Madden with Shane Leckler, bro. That's crazy. That's crazy.
So good, man.
In the middle 2000s, y'all, Sebastian Janikowski and Shane Leckler, special teams for the Oakland Raiders. People why were they so good? Super Bowl, AFC Championships, playoffs. Look at their special teams from a 4-year span when Leckler and Janikowski were on the top of the world kicking in the NFL. Billy White Shoes Johnson and Devin Hester were the returners of all time.
Okay.
Don't know Devin Hester, but I'll tell you a personal quick story. Here in the same city of Charlotte, 2011, I worked for Football University as a football coach and consultant. I worked and met personally with Billy White Shoes Johnson.
Okay. Coolest
dude you ever want to meet. Shoes still got that gloss and that afro to this day. Congratulations, Shoes, man. Love you, man. Good dude right there. Darrell Green.
Fastest man in football. That was
all-time, arguably, yeah. I still can't. And the thing,
Bobby Hayes from the Cowboys.
Fact, Bullet Bob. This is the thing of me. This is the thing of it. By the way, my dad played against Bullet Bob Hayes in college.
I mean, the only dude with a gold medal and a Super Bowl ring. That's a dope list.
That's you were on it by yourself, so it's a dope list just because of that. With Darrell Green though, it was funny to me. They had the only two present day guys they had were Darrell Reeves and Patrick Peterson. Patrick Peterson's still active, so that makes sense. I think Darrell Reeves could have kind of made a coin. He could have kind of got in there,
Oh, so he was on that next 10 list.
Well, there was only 11 finalists as DBs. Period. It was a very tight finalist list. It was a super tight list, and they had to get somebody from our day, like the running backs had with LT.
Was Charles Woodson in there?
Charles Woodson did make it. I'm about
Okay, I didn't. I thought you were done for a second.
I missed it in the note, but you brought it back around.
I was like, man, how did I know they got Rod on there. Right. Forgetting another Woodson.
Right, exactly. But with that being said, it was a situation where, and I'll tell you about that in a second. But with how that worked out, it was just interesting to see how that whole situation played out itself.
For sure.
Deion Sanders, Charles Woodson both made the list. Deion Sanders to me is the best, I think Deion Sanders is one of the greatest figures in all of sports because of just how he transcended it.
He's a offensive coordinator for his son's high school team. The highlights are hilarious. Yeah, the highlights are great.
Trinity Christian School just won their third straight state championship down in private school ball down in Texas. He's the head coach. Yeah.
And speaking of Deion, another list where it's a one-man list, only guy with a World Series ring and a Super Bowl ring.
Exactly.
Deion Sanders.
Exactly.
The dude's an incredible athlete, played for the Braves in the 90s. West won the World Series with, and of course, he's prime time.
Right. That's fair. That's very valid. That's very valid. Segueing now to college football. College football was easily the biggest news and the busiest news that we've had taking place the last 7 days between conference championships, Division II playoffs, FBS playoffs, the coaching carousel, players of the year in the conferences getting announced, etc., etc., etc. So, jumping right into it. LSU's won for the college football playoff. LSU's won. Ohio State is 2. Clemson is 3. Oklahoma's 4. My popular pick is LSU because I want to see Joe Burrow put icing on the cake.
Just clean sweep everything.
But because of what I know about football, Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers have what you call poke bear syndrome or shaken bear syndrome. If a bear's hibernating, you never poke him and wake him up because you got hell on your hands after that point. Clemson definitely feels that way about what it is in which they're doing in their approach towards trying to finish this job in which of winning and acquiring their second national championship as a 15-0 team. They're the only team to do it one time, so they're looking to do it twice. And on top of that, as you can see, they didn't boat race UVA in the ACC championship by accident. They did it to prove a point that they're not bullshitting. They're not playing.
Yeah.
They're not playing with nobody in college football that think you're gonna run up on that orange and white and that purple trim, and you think you're gonna do something with it. They're not playing no games. They really not.
They went into the ACC championship game and said, "We're going for the #1 seed." And
I agree.
I thought they earned it. Honestly,
I don't feel like
28 games straight.
Right.
You're the best, and I think you should be considered the best till someone knocks you off that mantle, man.
Well,
I've been super impressed with OSU and LSU this year. I do think they are slightly more talented than Clemson is this year, but I still got Clemson. I think
I'm gonna give you a comparison, right? If you feel that Clemson's 28 game winning streak that's still current should have got them a #1 seed, you may as well give Jalen Hurts the Heisman Trophy. If that makes any sense. This is what I mean, because you seem like I kind of threw you. This is what I mean. Jalen Hurts has the best body of work of any player in college football, period, right now. He's been to the playoff 4 years in a row.
Okay,
right. He's been to the playoff 4 years in a row. He's been to the playoff 4 years in a row. He's got 2 conference championships. He's got 2 conference player of the year awards from 2 different schools. Chuba Hubbard was the player of the year in the Big 12, not him, but he was first team all conference quarterback. He's multiple first team all conference quarterback.
Did he Chuba over?
But Chuba Hubbard led the nation in rushing. That's fair. I'm not mad at that.
That's true.
And at the end of the day, you can't give them all to Jalen Hurts. You gotta throw the kid a bone. Chuba Hubbard had a great year, by the way, for Oklahoma State. It's just Oklahoma State was a middle of the road, like kind of subpar top, like middle of the road top 25, end of the road top 25 teams. That was just their identity this year. It's hard to get that kind of kid to come to Oklahoma State. But
for sure.
With that being said, Jalen Hurts definitely could have won the Heisman off of just pure body of work, off of what he's done his whole career in college football. Same with the Clemson thing, but Clemson played a very weak ACC conference, and I don't even know who Clemson played non-conference that was worth a damn.
A&M's their best win all year. So
it is what it is. And A&M just got boat raced by LSU 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Like boat race, like whatever to 7. It wasn't even close. The 1-4 matchup. LSU, Oklahoma. I have LSU winning because LSU has better defense than Oklahoma, so it's going to allow LSU to score more points than Oklahoma would, because you're talking about the same thing on offense. Jalen Hurts, CeeDee Lamb, couple tailbacks. You got Edwards-Helaire, Joe Burrow, obviously, Jamar Chase, and then a couple other receivers that are relatively all right.
Jordan Jefferson guys.
You know what I'm saying? Jefferson guys like that, and they're number 6. I want to say his last name is Smith, but don't give me a line about that. I got LSU beating Oklahoma. I think it'd be a relatively lower scoring game. I think it's going to be a lot of, I don't know. If Oklahoma doesn't come out and play defense, I got LSU winning 40. I got LSU winning 42-28.
I got 45-38 LSU. I think Jalen Hurts, just his talent, and CeeDee Lamb, they're going to be able to put up numbers.
Right.
But Joe Burrows has been the best quarterback in college football, I think, this year, through his 46th touchdown.
45th, yeah.
45th touchdown in the SEC championship.
He broke Drew Lock's record from 2017 in
most
last year
records ever, yep.
In Missouri, excuse me.
Doesn't throw, doesn't turn the ball over a lot at all. I think he's going to win the Heisman. He's going to win the O'Brien Trophy. I think he's going to do a clean sweep with all that, and I think they beat Oklahoma. And I think the next game.
Moving
on, Clemson, Ohio State.
Ohio State and Clemson in Phoenix for a chance to go to the national championship. That's kind of a recurring theme in the playoff nowadays. Clemson and Ohio State kind of play each other. They play well all year, and then kind of meeting in Phoenix. It's kind of ironic how it always plays out. Last time they played out there was 2016. Clemson beat them, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they
so
3 touchdowns, I believe.
Exactly, they boat raced them. So this year, I am going to take Ohio State over Clemson. This is my upset special for the playoff. Now, granted, I did begin this playoff conversation saying how I felt about Clemson, but that's not necessarily me speaking to a pick or the fact that like I'm going to be biased because I know ball. I don't have to be biased. I can be neutral. So with that being said, I definitely think that Ohio State has a lot of guys on defense that Clemson is going to have a big difficult time trying to like keep at bay. I don't know that they have a left tackle that can block Chase Young. I don't know. Now, granted, they have some great receivers in Scott and T. Higgins, but Jeffrey Okudah, who should be a first-round draft pick at safety at corner, and the other corner that they have is supposed to be a top 2-round pick, and they got a safety supposed to be a top 3-round pick. So it's those silver bullet Ohio State DBs versus these Clemson Tiger Rag receivers, and to be able to see what they can do against that. The quarterback matchup is even. The running back matchup is even. The O-line, you give the advantage to OSU. The D-line, you give the advantage to OSU. Because of those two advantages in the trenches, OSU wins, and it's not going to be a really it's not going to be a blowout game. I got Ohio State beating Clemson 23-14. I think it'll be a low-scoring game. Because I think Ohio State is going to do a really good job of controlling Clemson at the point of attack in the trenches, and I think it's going to allow them to keep them in the game throughout the duration of the game.
So to do my best Ed Orgeron, go Tigers! I think we'll have an all Tigers championship. And
I can go for that.
I think it's going to be Clemson 31, OSU 27. I think Justin Fields is going to be the best quarterback we've seen come out in the league, in a couple of years since Russell Wilson. I honestly do. I love the way he plays under pressure. I think he's super composed. With that being said, Trevor Lawrence, he got crapped on a little bit for having a slow start, and then these last 7 games, I think he's thrown 16 touchdowns and 1 interception, or 19 touchdowns now and 1 interception. And
20 touchdowns and no interceptions the last 6 games.
Incredible. He's looked incredible. ETN is a beast. But same with J.K. Dobbins, like you said, they're both super balanced teams. They can beat you either way. They both have weapons everywhere. OSU's KJ Hill just broke the record for most catches at OSU in a career.
Right.
I think it's a super close matchup, but I give it to Clemson because Dabo has that experience that Ryan Day doesn't have yet, preparing your team, having this huge layoff. And making sure your team's prepared. Ryan Day was there with Urban Meyer. Not that he doesn't know what to do, but I think it's just you have to put your own swing on it. I think Dabo's the best at keeping his team motivated with 3 weeks off.
I got you. One thing I'll say about this, the most interesting player matchup in the whole entire first week on December 28th, that's when the college football playoff games are taking place. December 28th on ESPN, on ESPN1. And the thing of it to me is, I really cannot wait to see Derek Stingley Jr. versus CeeDee Lamb in the first playoff game, LSU being the 1 seed and Oklahoma being the 4 seed. I feel like we're looking at I don't know that they do this, but I wouldn't be surprised or I wouldn't be mad if you gave out 2 Biletnikovs this year. Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb both deserve it. I don't want to see either one of them lose it. I think you should have a co-Biletnikov winner, but that's just my opinion. We'll get to that in just a second. But by the same token, I feel like Derek Stingley Jr., 2 interceptions in the SEC championship game. He'll be a first-team All-American corner. He's a true freshman now, guys. This kid is 18 years old. I don't even think he's 18 yet. This kid's 17, 18 years old. So if he locks up CeeDee Lamb, he could take his career into a whole nother stratosphere within literally not even of being 12 months in college football. It's ridiculous. But that's my biggest matchup for the first college football playoff round for sure. Next week, what we're gonna do, guys, we'll have a bowl special next week. Big time bowl special the entire way. I'm coming back in just a minute, guys. It rolls over after an hour. So, give me 1 second, Steve. Thank you, bro.
I'm just gonna talk about it real quick.
Who do you think should?
Championship game. I'm gonna go ahead and do my pick.
Okay.
LSU versus Clemson. That's who I got. Clemson 41, LSU 38.
I got that.
I actually think Clemson's D-line and their defense is the reason they win. They get a stop late. Joe Burrows hasn't had the any struggles this year, which is the only thing that worries me about LSU, because they haven't faced this level of competition. They faced Alabama, of course, but I think Clemson's all-around defense is what's going to end up making them just a little bit better than LSU this year.
My national championship pick, I have LSU beating Ohio State. I have LSU beating Ohio State 38-31. Now, J.K. Dobbins is the better running back than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But Ohio State's O-line, just like LSU's O-line, the entire O-line across was all conference. The whole Ohio State was Big Ten. The whole LSU was all SEC. Led by Lloyd Cushenberry and Austin DeCoulis from LSU side. Led by Wyatt Davis and Brandon Bowen, the 2 tackles for OSU. My point is this. The biggest difference is this. LSU's defense is going to be able to contain all of the firepower on OSU's offense. You got a tight end who had the touchdown pass yesterday. You have KJ Hill. You got Johnny Dixon. You got Benjamin Victor. You got Chris Olave, number 17, who went crazy in the second half against Michigan a couple weeks ago when Ohio State boat raced Michigan. So my point is, it's a scenario where you got Grant Delpit, you got Calevon Chason, you got Derek Stingley Jr. You know what I mean? You got some other really good defensive backs, some other really good linebackers for LSU.
DBU is living up to the name.
For
these
sure.
recruits.
But I'm not gonna lie to you though. Like that LSU conversation, that DBU conversation is dead to me. Like it's LSU, it's not even close. Let it go.
Oh, for sure.
Let it go.
That's what I'm saying. Delpit and Stingley Jr. this year have just been unreal.
And the thing of it is,
like Stingley could go to the league tomorrow.
And the thing of it is, not even that. But the thing of it is, well, that's true too. But the thing of it is, Grant Delpit has such an underwhelming year compared to what Derek Stingley did. Grant Delpit was the preseason first team AP All-American safety.
He's a finalist for the Thorpe Award still.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So, you know,
he may not be the best one on his team.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So, you know, that's a trick.
Them athletes down in
Louisiana,
bud.
Right, I agree with you. Wholeheartedly. So, like I said, guys, next week we'll have a bowl special, doing all the bowls, everything from the New Orleans Bowl. And if there's any bowls that take place in the next 7 days, you'll get the live score and the analysis of those. You'll get the score and the analysis of those bowl games. But next week we're going to do a whole bowl special for college football. Whole bowl special, talking about from there. We'll talk about the playoff a little bit more. We'll probably come with a few more like analytical angles for the college football playoff if we want to like speak about it. But other than that, like next week we're doing a full blown bowl special all the way through. The coaching carousel in college football. So, we won't talk about who got fired because in coaching carousel talk, nobody cares about that. Arkansas, they hired Sam Pittman, the offensive line coach for the University of Georgia. Now, funny thing, the last time Sam Pittman was a head coach, he was a head coach at Hutchinson Community College in 92-93. So, long time removed from being a head coach. But if you notice, Georgia, to me, had the best O-line in the SEC East all year this year, wasn't even close. So, Sam Pittman has to be thanked for that. And along with the fact that you got Andrew Thomas, who arguably is going to be the first offensive tackle taken in the draft this year, number 71, their left tackle for UGA, by the way.
And I think their rushing attack has led the nation 3 of the 8 years he's been there, or something like that. Right. They always are able to move the ball on the ground.
Right. I agree.
Especially against the lower competition, the SEC, they've ran buckshot through it with the Nick Chubb and Gurley
Sony and all those guys.
Sony Michelle. I mean, they've been.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Elite offensive line for the last since he's been there.
Willie Taggart did kind of a. Yeah, he did kind of a 360. He started at USF. He did a 180-degree turn. He went to Florida State. Now he's coming back 180 degrees, coming back to South Florida. I can't wait to see Willie Taggart down in South Florida.
They rehired?
Yeah, they rehired Willie Taggart. I can't wait to see that. Because Willie Taggart is perfect for USF. He takes a certain kind of kid and he puts him into his program and he gives you a certain type of output and it's great. Willie Taggart is great for college football. He's just not good for Power 5 football because it doesn't work. Sorry, Willie, just letting you know.
I don't know if you watched the All-American Conference game. The only championship game this weekend that was competitive at all.
Right.
It seemed.
I felt like the Big 12 was ridiculously competitive.
Oh, my bad. It did. It went to overtime. You're right.
I figured you said that without
it didn't pop in my head real quick.
Nonetheless, but it was a great game. It was a great game nonetheless.
About an hour after that game ends, Mike Norvell's getting hired at FSU.
Well, this is the thing, and let me go not backwards on the subject, but let me rewind one topic to explain to you how stuff like this happens. This is informative for the listeners out there, for our listeners out here. Mike Norvell and Elijah Drinkwitz, who's the head coach at Appalachian State that just went 12-1 and won back-to-back Sun Belt conferences, are both now head coaches at Power 5 schools. Coach Drinkwitz is now at Missouri. Matt Norvell, as we know, just took a 6-year competitive pay contract at Florida State. Regents from Florida State were in Memphis the night before the AAC championship game. This was already pretty much. It was a
done deal.
This was a done deal that needed to have ink to paper come Sunday post-conference championship. The same with Elijah Drinkwitz. The same with Lane Kiffin. After Lane Kiffin won the Conference USA championship, he went back to his office. He flew home, packed a few things up, packed his wife's child, and they flew him on a
We're going to Mississippi.
Yeah, they flew him straight to what city is Ole Miss?
I would know if you didn't ask me.
Right. Oxford. Flew him straight to Oxford.
Yeah, okay.
Private plane, straight to Oxford. So the way that works is, Steve, and for all of our fans and followers out there and our listeners out there, the way that college football coaches usually get hired that fast is, like I said, they get hired by schools that got even more money than the school that they're currently at. So they send their fat cat regents or their boosters or the whatever you want to call them. Usually they call them regents, and they send their regents to said location, championship site, to the man's house, to his coaching office at the school, the facility, wherever he's going to be at to be talked to. Usually the site of the championship game, they'll take him out for dinner, show him the town, whatever. But usually they know when they're coming to get a guy, they're usually going to leave with the guy. It's a little bit different from, the only way I can compare this is NFL free agency. When they fly in those NFL guys to try to get them to sign with a team, but they don't really know if the guy really going to rock with them or not. But it's a little different with college football. When those guys get selected for that, they coming. Like, okay, we know you're here. We came all the way here to get you. You going to tell us no? No, I'm probably not going to tell us no. So,
to me, the most surprising coaching hire the whole time, Greg Schiano going back to Rutgers.
I'm not surprised at that because Greg Schiano has kind of been lost in the sauce in football.
No, I think he's a great coach. I think it's a great move for him.
I agree.
They haven't been competitive since Schiano left.
True, but this is my thing of why I feel like that worked for Greg Schiano. It worked for Greg Schiano because, like I was just saying, he's been lost in the sauce in football the last few years. He left Rutgers, right? Went to Tampa Bay, didn't work. Went to Ohio State. Ran into the whole Zach Smith situation, kind of being a part of that. They didn't ask him about some things. He lied about that shit. Okay, cool. That didn't really work. Where do I need to be at? The same place I should have never left.
Yeah.
Rutgers.
He could be a lifer there. He's
exactly.
Perfect for that program.
Exactly. His name is Greg Schiano. Like you should definitely be the head coach of the college in New Jersey.
Of Rutgers.
Facts. Mike Bobo resigned at Colorado State. I wouldn't be surprised to see him as an offensive coordinator at the University of Georgia next year. Just saying.
I heard the running backs coach at Ohio State, I believe, was the one that's in the running for that job at Colorado State.
At Colorado State, yeah, facts. I heard that. The University of Washington has a new head coach. His name is Jimmy Lake. He was the defensive coordinator under Chris Peterson that took over with Chris Peterson, surprisingly stepping down, saying that he was stressed from coaching college football, stuff like that. By the way, Chris, you weren't stressed. Just have the balls to tell people in sports media the truth that you got tired of dealing with all the headaches that came to UW that you never had to deal with at Boise State. It's okay. It's football.
Another guy I think could have been a lifer at Boise State. Might should have stayed there and just.
I wouldn't be surprised if Chris Peterson ends up at. Give it 2 years. Chris Peterson end up back at.
I mean, Boise State's look good too. Their new coach he's a good coach.
Right, but then again. I don't know, man. Eventually, I want to see Boise State either join the Pac-12 or just leave football alone. Cause I'm tired of seeing them being a small school football program. Cause you don't Boise State can recruit nationally.
Oh, absolutely.
Boise State got kids from everywhere.
That campus is incredible.
It makes no sense. You know what I'm saying? They need to figure it out. With that being said, we spoke about everybody who's been hired. So now. Memphis, Appalachian State, the University of Texas, San Antonio, UTSA, the UNLV Running Rebels out in Vegas, the Old Dominion Monarchs out of Virginia, the New Mexico Lobos, and the Boston College Eagles are now without college football coaches. We'll be able to keep you guys posted throughout the weeks as we find out more news. And I also have a personal Twitter. It's at Jordan Mosley. It's really, really simple. That's my Twitter handle in relation to UntiedJordans. It's not personal. You only ever see me on that Twitter handle be talking about sports. I'll drop the Twitter handle today on my timeline on the Facebook and on the timeline on my Instagram, so y'all can be able to follow my sports Twitter as well. So with that being said, to round up the conversation about the coaching carousel, you got guys like Luke Fickell at Cincinnati. You got guys like Brent Venables and Tony Elliott, who were offensive and defensive coordinators at Clemson. Matt Campbell at ISU, who's off the list at this point because he's just signed a 6-year extension. Josh Heupel, another hot name at UCF. Billy Napier. Billy Napier was a long-time recruiting coordinator, big-time great recruiter at Clemson. Got guys like Martavis Bryant, DeAndre Hopkins, etc. to come to Clemson. He went to UL Lafayette as a head coach. He's had some success down there with the Raging Cajuns, but now what's to see, or we're kind of curious to see what he'll do going forward as far as if he'll keep that job, if he'll try to replace maybe a Memphis or App State, or maybe even something like a Boston College or New Mexico, something like that, something at a little higher level than where he is right now with Lafayette. Luke Fickell, we just spoke about that. Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator for LSU. Him and Steve Ensminger are down there. He's the older guy. Joe Brady's the younger guy. I think Joe Brady's going to be my pick for the Bros Award, which is the award that speaks to, or that is awarded to, the best college football assistant of college football in any given a particular year. Alrighty, we're segueing straight into the conference. Coaches and players of the year. Most of these pieces of information were given to me by the websites of the conferences, so I appreciate those different conferences putting the information out for sports media figures like myself to be able to find the information really, really fast. The SEC and the Pac-12 should do a better job of putting that out. I don't know if they use the Associated Press or not, but it's kind of hard to find the information. But luckily, by me being a sports fanatic we found the information, so it's not a big deal. In the SEC, Joe Burrow was named the Offensive Player of the Year and the overall SEC Player of the Year. J.R. Reed, DB from the University of Georgia, who's also a Jim Thorpe finalist, was named the Defensive Player of the Year. In the Pac-12, they have yet to name a Defensive Player of the Year, but Oregon's Justin Herbert was named the Pac-12 Scholar Athlete of the Year in general. He was also named the Offensive Player of the Year in the conference, and was also named the Player of the Year in the conference overall. But he's also a scholar athlete, and he's a finalist for the William V. Campbell Trophy, which is like the student athlete, emphasis on student Heisman. The best, well put together, well-rounded student athlete in America usually wins this trophy. So best of luck to Justin Herbert in that pursuit as well. The Coach of the Year in the Big Ten is Ryan Day. The Ohio State swept the Players of the Year. Obviously, Chase Young was the Defensive Player of the Year, not even close. Justin Fields was the Offensive Player of the Year. Clemson swept the Player of the Year vote in the ACC. Travis Etienne, who also broke the ACC record for most rushing touchdowns with 57 career rushing touchdowns. He was named the Offensive Player and Player of the Year overall in the ACC. Isaiah Simmons, who is now currently a consensus top 10 pre-draft pick. He was named the Defensive Player of the Year in the ACC. Scott Satterfield from the Louisville Cardinals was named the Coach of the Year in the ACC. Going to the Big 12 now. Chuba Hubbard, number 30, the running back who led the nation in rushing with over 1,800, almost 1,900 yards rushing this year for the Oklahoma State Cowboys, was named the Offensive Player of the Year. James Lynch, defensive lineman from Baylor, number 93. He had 11.5 sacks pre-Big 12 championship game. He broke the all-time sack record in the season. He had 10 sacks pre-bowl game, and he finished the Big 12 championship game with 2 sacks. So he was named Defensive Player of the Year in the Big 12 with 10.5 sacks as a junior, if I'm not mistaken. And Jalen Hurts, just because worth mentioning, he was named the Newcomer of the Year. He was also named the first team All Big 12 quarterback. Matt Rule, arguably, should be the National Coach of the Year in my personal opinion. He was named the Big 12 Coach of the Year this year, and he took a team that at one time under his tutelage was a 1-11 team and now they potentially could play in the Cotton Bowl. So I think that's really, really dope to see them put themselves in a position of being that dominant or being that well respected of a program from how shambled Art Briles left the program in, respectively, in his tenure at Baylor, respectively.
Just Etienne from Clemson is only 44 yards away, I believe, from Clemson's all-time rushing record as well.
Right.
He's looked incredible this year. He deserved being the ACC Player of the Year. Right. He's made his draft stock, I think, go up quite a bit. I think he was looking at somewhere around late third round, early fourth round before the season. He might be a late first round pick, early second round now. Right.
Just to let you guys know, next week we're going to have along with a bowl special, we're going to have a lot of talk about college football recruiting. There's 2 signing periods now, people. There's 2 signing periods. The first one is it's the first Wednesday in February, so it's either the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th usually. But the first Wednesday in February is a regular signing day that people will remember pre-2015 when the new signing period comes along. The early signing period for college football or for high school football recruits is December the 20th. That's 11 days from now. So 7 days from now, next Monday, when we come back with episode 6 of Untied Jordans, we'll be able to give you guys more information as far as who's thinking about going where in relation to most teams in the South. I won't really speak about too much national recruiting unless we're talking about guys in the top 5, top 6 who don't know where they want to go yet, because that's obviously conversation and noteworthy. So, segueing into continuing with college football, but segueing into the transfer portal. The biggest news to come out of the transfer portal, one really interesting move and another move that was interesting, but it's very exciting to see what the perspectives of this will be. Lynn Bowden just went crazy this year at Kentucky. Number 1, all-purpose kid, can throw it, better runner than thrower, but can throw it competitively as well. He has now either graduated from the program or he's getting ready to try his shot at the league as an athlete. Joey Gatewood, Bo Nix's backup at Auburn University, just decided to, he posted this past Thursday a picture of him in a Kentucky uniform. He's chosen to transfer to Kentucky. That's really, really big for Mark Stoops because they play really good defense and they have a running back in the league now named Benny Snell Jr. to show that they can run the ball. So they have somewhat pretty good O-line play, but they've been kind of lacking a quarterback. They had Terry Wilson before Lynn Bowden, and then they had Lynn Bowden this past couple of years who's been kind of a dynamo, but they're looking for a guy to be more of a drop back passer with athletic traits tied to him. That's exactly what Joey Gatewood is. He's 6'5", 235-pound kid, rocket arm, but he's also a pretty damn good athlete to be that big. So it'll be interesting to see what Kentucky does in the SEC East with a guy like that next season going forward. A 5-star offensive tackle who found himself at Florida Atlantic by way of the powerful recruiting from Lane Kiffin, obviously. And he ended up finding himself out not wanting to be at FAU after hearing that Urban Meyer didn't want to be there anymore. He takes his talents to FAMU. So now FAMU, from the high school level, has a 5-star prospect offensive tackle now at FAMU. I wonder what that'll be like, and I wonder if FAMU's going to have a great running back come out of the MEAC in the next couple of years behind the fact that they just got a really good O-lineman down there. So we'll see about that. Britton Cox, a linebacker, he's transferring from Florida to Georgia, so that'll be a very, very interesting world's largest outdoor cocktail party for him next season. If he's on the field. Do
they still make you sit out a year if it's in conference?
You got 2 different ways to look at it. You either get a coach who says, okay, you can go to these amount of schools, and if you don't want to go against my rule and go to this school, you got to sit a year. You also have a lot of kids like Justin Fields. A lot of kids find things, little waivers, little excuses, hardships, what have you, and they write them into the NCAA, and the NCAA kind of expedites the process depending on the kid. They kind of grant you. Yeah, because the NCAA aren't criminals. They only do good business one way.
And they want their best players playing. So if a guy like Justin Fields has got to sit another year behind Jake Fromm,
they're gonna find a way to make it happen.
That's eyeballs they're losing on Ohio State.
But it's kids who get injured in their 6-year eligibility and looking for a 7 that they can't get. I think that's a crock of shit. But that's just my personal opinion. Isaiah Pryor, pass rushing dynamo from Ohio State, transferred to Notre Dame. He'll be eligible for this upcoming fall, if I'm not mistaken. That being said, let's segue to the College Football Awards. College Football Awards come on TV this Wednesday. Excuse me.
Thursday.
Thank you. This Thursday. It comes on this Thursday, ESPN, 7 p.m. from the Wild World of Sports in Orlando, Florida. I'm going to take you through. I talked to Steven last night about figuring out who I wanted to announce and who I didn't want to announce, but here we go. For the Bednarik Trophy, the College Defensive Player of the Year, You got Derrick Brown from Auburn, arguably the most dominant shade tech or nose guard in college football this year. Wasn't even close. Isaiah Simmons, the outstanding linebacker from Clemson, who was also the ACC Defensive Player of the Year, and Chase Young, who was the All-World defensive end from Ohio State. Biletnikoff, tightest race in college football awards this year. I think it should be 2 Biletnikoffs given out. Michael Pittman Jr., you would finish 3rd, brother. No offense. Jamar Chase from USC, great year, great season, but
might be the best NFL prospect of the 3. Michael Pittman is super talented.
I wouldn't say he's not super talented, but I think his CeeDee Lamb right now is not.
Oh, no, I agree. I said he might be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for the sake of argument, but if we're going to argue,
a little bit bigger.
Give you my side of it. You know what I mean? but that's not discrediting what you're saying now. Let me be clear. Michael Pittman Jr. is great, but they got another brother out there named Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Equanimous' brother.
So that'll be interesting to see.
By the way, your parents... best at naming kids in the history of the world, maybe.
Right. Facts.
Their family is wild. All 3 of the brothers have crazy names.
Right. And the funny thing about that situation out in Southern Cal with Michael Pittman and Amon-Ra St. Brown, they'll both be back next year.
Oh, yeah.
So it could potentially be like a Steve Smith, Dwayne Jarrett, if you will, from our old USC Trojan fans from back in the day. Or Michael Pittman Jr. is just going to shoot past Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's going to be the Biletnikoff winner next season. I think it should be a co-winner this year between Jamar Chase from LSU and CeeDee Lamb from Oklahoma. Jamar Chase dominated the SEC in receiving. That's an accomplishment within itself because of the type of DB play that's out there in the SEC, across the SEC. However, I give the co-award to CeeDee Lamb as well because CeeDee Lamb has been the most dominant receiver with the football in his hand in college football this year. Now, granted, he plays in a very defensively iffy conference.
Lackluster, yeah.
Not even lackluster, because they got good players that come out of the Big 12 defensively, but nobody in the Big 12 tackles.
No teams are great at defense.
Right. Like, you don't just... Right, exactly. Like, and, well, that too, but also, I guess, to piggyback on that's a great point. But nobody in the Big 12 tackles.
Especially a defensive back.
Exactly. And CeeDee Lamb showed that all year because he has at least 6-7 touchdowns that I saw with my own 2 eyes where he took a ball, 7-yard route, 10-yard route, 11-yard route, break a guy, break off 2 guys, and he goes and scores. So
yeah, we were talking
his big
about
playability
this
is
before.
Ridiculous. Right.
I compare him running after the catch to a guy like Alvin Kamara.
Right.
The balance these guys had, they get spun around, and it's like they never lose momentum of where they're at. When they do get tackled, they're falling forward for 4 or 5 extra yards. I mean, right. I think CeeDee Lamb, to me, I'd give it to him, but it's probably because I didn't watch Jamar Chase enough to see how great he was.
I can understand it. I can understand that.
But it's like every week CeeDee Lamb had another highlight touchdown where he's spin moving off somebody, trucking somebody. I mean,
I can see that.
I loved watching him play this year. I thought he was the most exciting player in college football this year.
I got you. Rodrigo Blankenship from Georgia, a kicker last name Duncan from Iowa, and a kicker the last name Mazza, M-A-Z-Z-A from Washington State are up for the Lou Groza Award. Punter from last name Duffy from Kentucky, a punter from last name Hofrichter, and another punter from the University of Houston, last name Roy, are all up for the Ray Guy Award. Kickers and punters are people too, but they're not enough of a person for me to want to talk about more on this podcast.
They're people, but they're not
we'll talk about it when
players.
they win it.
All right, they're not football players.
No, they're football players, but they're kickers too.
Pat McAfee, that's what he says. He's like, I'm a punter, I'm not a football player. If
Pat McAfee said it, then I can say it now. So that's fair.
Exactly, that's why I say it.
The Maxwell Award. The Maxwell is kind of, in certain years, the Maxwell has been a prelude to the Heisman, but not so much this year. But it kind of is because the person who we think is going to win the Heisman is up for the Maxwell. Chase Young, Ohio State Dynamo DN. Joe Burrow, the quarterback from LSU. Jalen Hurts, the quarterback from Oklahoma. Now, if you want to give this award to Jalen Hurts Maxwell Committee, I wouldn't be mad because the kid's body of work over a career is better than Joe Burrow. But when you talk about one particular season, Joe Burrow just killed it. So give it to him.
He's been great.
But also, you could also give this
Chase Young. I mean,
exactly. It's definitely
he doesn't miss
one of 3 guys to
those 2 games, because both of those games are against lesser talent than and that's why they did it for those 2 games. So he could be back for the Michigan game. But those 2 games, he might have gotten 20 sacks. He's at 16.5 right now.
Right.
I think he gets to 20 sacks for the season, and he might not do that in the championship game because you're going up against other 5-star recruits. They're going to game plan to keep the ball away from Chase Young as much as they can.
Well, the thing of it is this: if Clemson wants to throw the football, then you're going to give Chase Young a chance to affect the game.
Oh, but they'll double team him. They'll chip him with the running back. They'll chip him with the tight end. They're going to slow him down as much as they can.
You would think they would.
That's what I mean. You would hope they would.
You would hope they would. No, sure. I get your angle. You would hope they would.
But I'm saying 20 sacks in a college season is unheard of. I think it's only happened one or two other times.
Well, you got you got Jalen Ferguson, who had 18.5 last year for Louisiana Tech, and he broke the all-time record. And if I'm not mistaken, T. Sizzle still has 24.
He had 24.
He had 24 in his last year at Arizona State, his junior year. T. Sizzle wasn't even a senior when he got 24 at A-State. So it's like,
gosh, I do
24 is difficult. But if you find the right kind of kid and you put him in the right kind of college football conference and you put him against the right talent that's going to throw the ball all year, you can get that. It could be had. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Now,
sure.
The work and how you get to there, I do. To hell if I know. But
Chase Young still might get to 20 with these last two games.
Right.
He's got that kind of
16.5. So yeah, I can see him getting 3.5 more sacks before it's all said and done to get 20. That's not too far. That's not too far of a cry in my opinion. With that being said, we're gonna these last three. I'm gonna give you guys my pick. I already said Joe Brady for the Bros Award. That's the Assistant of the Year. My Thorpe Award winner Grant Delpit from LSU. My Outland Trophy winner Penei Sewell from the University of Oregon. If you haven't checked them out, check them out. Penei Sewell, Sewell. He's a oos. 6'5", 360. Dog. Plays left tackle. He's a dog. Now, granted, Derrick Brown was the most dominant defensive tackle in college football this year, and Tyler Biadasz was one of the best center. Was the best center in college football this year. Senior center from Wisconsin. Go figure. Another Wisconsin kid up for the Outland. What do you expect? That's kind of what they do up there. They just produce really great alignment. And for the Doak Walker Award, I'm really disappointed that Travis Etienne wasn't a finalist, and they gave the finalists to Chuba Hubbard, Jonathan Taylor, and J.K. Dobbins. If you ask me, I'm taking Chuba Hubbard out of there because before this year, nobody knew who the hell Chuba Hubbard was. Let's call him what it is. Before this season, you knew who J.K. Dobbins was and you knew who Jonathan Taylor was. So personally, my Doak Walker winner isn't on the list. Call it what it is. I don't, sports talk. It's our show. We could be combative.
So you say Etienne's is who you pick as best running back. Okay,
right.
I got Jonathan Taylor. I think the dude. The games he didn't dominate for Wisconsin, it's because they loaded the box. They put 9 guys in the box.
And they had to just respect his presence.
And he's amazing, man.
Right.
I mean, that run he had against OSU in the first half was incredible.
I agree with you, but the funny thing
about the body of work, like you're talking about, the dude's averaged 2,000 yards a season.
Right now, I don't mind Jonathan Taylor being a finalist, and I'm not saying that you said it. I minded, but that's my thing.
You probably switch him out with J.K. Dobbins, is what you're saying.
No, I would switch out Chuba Hubbard with Travis Etienne.
Oh wow!
But see, my pick for the Doak Walker is neither one of the guys we said. I think J.K. Dobbins is going to win it.
Oh, okay.
This is my thing, guys, about college football awards. And people don't even realize that college football awards play out like this in real life. You got to spread it out. If a kid's ridiculously better than everybody in 1 year, then cool, give them all the awards. But you got to spread it out because there's so many good ball players. You can't just give all the awards to one guy. It makes no sense. And that's a monumental discredit and a monumental slap in the face to all the other kids out there who work hard about their craft. It just is what it is. I could go into more detail, but I won't. So with that being said, let me segue. Okay, Dominic Blaylock, University of Georgia. If y'all noticed in the SEC Championship, he hurt his knee when he went down after a tackle or something like that. Tore his ACL. Justin Hamilton, the defensive backs coach at Virginia Tech, is replacing Bud Foster, who's the longest tenured assistant at one school consistently. We already said that Mike Norvell is officially FSU's head coach. I think they announced him on Tuesday. Samari Torre. I want to make sure I get this right. He had in the Division I AA football playoffs this year, the FCS playoffs this past weekend against Southeast Louisiana. He had 12 catches for 303 yards and 3 touchdowns. That broke the old FCS playoff record of 288 yards in 1996 versus the University of Delaware by some guy named Randy Moss who played at Marshall University. I don't know. Y'all may have heard of him.
Who was throwing to him? Oh, Brad Chad Pennington.
Ironically, I'm not going to lie to you. I wouldn't say that he... No, I'm saying because he definitely did. But in that highlight of that game, they got some guy at 15 throwing the rock. So I don't know if this was pre-Chad Pennington because I think Chad's a year behind Randy. Or something like that. I don't know if this is pre-Chad Pennington, or if he was hurt, or if it was a blowout game. It was probably boat racing at that point. So it could have been a second string guy.
I got you.
For you, when we come back next week, I'll have an answer to who the quarterback was of that game because you know I'm a stat guy like that. I like that. I'm a stat fiend like that. Little HBCU bowl talk, little HBCU football talk right now. The MEAC champion was North Carolina A&T. The SWAC champion was Alcorn State. They're going to play in the Celebration Bowl. They're going to play in the Celebration Bowl down in Atlanta, Georgia, in a couple of weeks. I don't like the fact that they have the Celebration Bowl. I don't mind it, but I don't like it either. Now, granted, the Greek influence in black college football, the band influence in black college football, the typical fan, the typical diehard supporter of his or her HBCU institution. I respect all of that. But let's try to strive for bigger and greater amounts of and bigger amounts of greatness as HBCUs. Like, why do we want to go to the playoffs? I think North Carolina A&T could make a run in the FCS playoffs. I think Alcorn State could see some teams in the FCS playoffs. Now, when you look at these teams who are in the FCS playoffs, you see programs that are legit programs, coaches, players, facilities, location, etc. Not to say that those same things aren't to be had at Alcorn down in Mississippi or to be had in Greensboro at A&T. But by the same token, though, I feel like these teams shouldn't just alienate themselves by trying to make a bowl game to make some money for black college football. But by the same token, black college football is one of the most left out and one of the most underappreciated divisions of college football out there. I'm an HBCU product, so this is why I'm so passionate about it, why I want to make sure I'm speaking about it now, and I'm going to speak about it in the weeks forward because it needs a platform. We need this a platform. We deserve a platform. Period.
So do they just, like, you're saying they don't put their names in for the FCS playoffs?
The FCS committee doesn't consider the MEAC champion and the SWAC champion because those conferences write in and they forfeit their play because it's a trade.
They want the celebration.
Because you can't have that.
I got
and then it could work. This is how it would work at the Division I A level. Because this is how I used to work at the D2 level. My second championship in college was the Pioneer Bowl ring. We beat Miles College at Johnson C. Smith University. We were the third place team in the CI. They were the third place team in the SIAC. We met in Columbus at A.J. McClung Stadium. We beat them. That same year, Tuskegee won the conference, and who won the CI 2011? Oh, Winston-Salem State won the CIAA 2011. They went on to lose in the national championship.
Okay.
So in Division II with black college, because there's only two D2 black conferences, the SIAC and the CIAA. They go to the playoffs. But the way it works in Division II is, I think it's like 8 regions, and you got to be in the top 6 in all your regions. Like you got to be in the top 6 in that region. I think it's like 6 regions, something like that. It's like 36 teams go to the playoffs, and then you bracket it down from there. So it could happen at the MEAC. It could happen at the Division I level with black college football, but it would have to be teams. It would have to be the third place team from the MEAC and the third or the runner up from the MEAC and the runner up from the SWAC from the championship go play in the Celebration Bowl, and then them winners go represent them in the playoffs. That's how that would have to work. That's how that would have to work for certain. James Franklin had a 6-year contract extension from it being 2019 now, but a 5-year contract extension. It takes place starting in January. Little bit of bump in pay. And that's pretty much all they had to say about it.
I think that's a good signing for Penn State. He's kept it afloat after it should have went down in flames. So
but
I think there's something to be said about that. You know?
I mean, I don't disagree with that. But one thing I will say is, like, I just don't feel like one man's decisions or one man's behavior should have taken out the whole program. I also don't feel like Joe Power's statue should have been removed behind that shit. But that's just my personal opinion.
We can't go as deep as I'd like to go on this subject, but I can promise you it wasn't one man's decision.
Of course it isn't, because
he was recruiting for other high level boosters, and I don't want to get too deep into that because it's scary and disgusting. But
different conversation. I got you.
He was a tip of a spear at Penn State and running those programs for the young kids and the football camps and all that stuff.
I can understand that without you having to really say too much into detail. I can understand exactly where you come from. I didn't even know it was really like this, so I appreciate the insight.
It goes deeper than a couple of boys at camp 20 years ago.
I got you. Yeah. I got you. Yetter or Yetur, if I butchered your name, brother, I apologize. Yetur Gross Moss, LaVisca Chenault Jr., Isaiah Hodgins, Anthony McFarland Jr., Jalen Rager, C.J. Henderson. These are just names of a few guys in the last 10 days that have declared for the NFL draft. Telling you a little bit more about each character. Gross Moss, mid first round projection from Penn State. Jalen Rager, lower first round, high second round pick high second round prospectus from TCU. One of the best all-purpose players in college football the last 2 years. JalenReagor. If you want to check out his highlights. LaVisca Chenault Jr. He's the 12th overall prospect. So far, he's the highest-ranked prospect to declare. Had a very underwhelming 2019 campaign from being a runner-up for the Blitnikoff. 6'2", 220 guy, so he's a bigger body. 56 catches, 764 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Now, granted, his head coach at Colorado is Mel Tucker, former University of Georgia defensive coordinator. Mel Tucker's an all-time NFL defensive guy, so that makes a lot of sense. But because of the fact that he has an NFL tenured executive with real NFL clout as his head coach, that should definitely work out in LaVisca's favor going forward towards trying to make himself as attractive as possible in the draft process. With that, we will segue into soccer. Very slight soccer news. Lionel Messi won his 6th Ballon d'Or.
Okay.
He's the GOAT to me at this point. That's like winning 6 championships. That's 6. That's
MVPs.
Right. That's 6. That's 6 MVP trophies, saying that 6 times in your life you were the greatest soccer player on the planet for 12 months. So,
which is crazy because there's really no other award where it's not just the one league. It's right. Every league in the world, and they're like, right. You're the best in the world at it. Not that the NFL's MVP isn't the best that year at football in the world. Right. They just don't announce it like that. You're the best NFL player. They're still the best CFL player and the best XFL player.
I agree.
But the Dion Bellore, it's you're the best person at football on earth.
Right. You're the best soccer player, period. And there's only one governing body, and it's us. And we're saying that you're that guy. So
I love that the way they do that. And but our life has been him or Cristiano Ronaldo, and I'm with you. I pick Messi. I think the way he moves in and out, his footwork.
And he's just a more humble character.
Yeah.
Cristiano's all over the place.
We can relate to him because he's almost borderline autistic. Like
Right.
I like the way his career has worked out.
Right. I agree wholeheartedly. Segueing into baseball now, guys. Garrett Cole and Steven Strasburg are both meeting with the Yankees this week. The Yankees have, from there, also went to announce. They followed up with an announcement that Garrett Cole is their #1 priority this offseason. He had a ridiculously dominant baseball season last year pitching. And the New York Yankees are also in a space now where they can kind of like develop a new murderer's row, so the baseball world should definitely look out. Think about this for a second, people. Gary Sanchez, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Didi Gregorius, trying to make sure I don't miss anybody, like really notable, Brett Gardner, Jacoby Ellsbury, who they released. They don't even want Jacoby Ellsbury. Paid him all the money in the world. Don't even need him at this point. Aaron Hicks, right? And then, on top of having Aroldis Chapman and Masahiro Tanaka already in your pitching staff, you have Garrett Cole, who I think they're going to get Garrett Cole. I don't think it's going to be hard. It's not going to be hard to sell. It's New York Yankees, and you could potentially get Steven Strasburg. they're kind of trying to reload in New York. So Major League should definitely pay attention to that.
It's about time. It's been 10 years since their last championship. It's about time for the Yankees to buy another one.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
It's that time.
Right. I'm a huge Atlanta Braves fan, so we got Cole Hamels.
Same here.
Good
also
pitcher.
a Braves fan.
Good pitcher. I didn't know he was a Braves fan.
I am.
Good pitcher. We got Cole Hamels, 1 year, $18 million deal. So hopefully he gives us one great year being great. We got Travis d'Arnaud, 2 years, $16 million deal to be our catcher because Brian McCann just retired. Yep. A couple other general things that are noteworthy. Mike Moustakas, who had a really dope year last year as an infielder with the Brewers, signed a 4-year, $64 million contract with the Reds. The first $100+ million contract of the offseason goes to Zach Wheeler. Zach Wheeler was 11-8 with a 3.96 ERA in 19 games with the New York Mets last year, 19 appearances as a starting pitcher for the New York Mets last year. And he is now a 5-year, $109 million pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies. I hate the Phillies. I don't like the Mets.
8.
Right. I don't. But then again, you got to think about it.
Oh no, baseball's the best. Dude.
I agree.
If I have kids, I want that left-handed pitcher, homie. Strikes.
I don't know. If my kid wants to play baseball, I want him to just play the field. I don't want to be able to play everything in the infield. Be like a great infield utility. But if he gets fat, he's got to play first base and catch. Is kind of what it is. But
I go CC on him, dude. Fat CC was the best.
Yeah, Cleveland Indians fat CC was pretty dumb. I'm not gonna argue with you about that at all. But the reason why they went so passionately about Zach Wheeler because they were hoping to get somebody from that quartet between Harvey, Syndergaard, DeGrom, and Zach Wheeler. So he's kind of like the odd man out. So he was the most expendable to the open market because they're not looking to get rid of Jake DeGrom and they're not looking to get rid of Noah Syndergaard.
Yeah.
I think Matt Harvey would probably be the next guy to go, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I think Matt Harvey might be in Cincinnati already, but I'm not sure, so I gotta check on that. December 28th, Gervonta Davis, who was 22-0 with 21 knockouts, is fighting Yuriokis Gamboa down in Atlanta, Georgia. To the NBA now. The top 5 NBA draft prospects as of right now.
Real quick on boxing.
What?
Is Deontay Wilder the scariest human on earth? Did you see the knockout against Ortiz?
Yeah, he punched him sweat off his face into
the forehead.
Fact.
You know how hard that's the hardest place on your body, people. So to knock someone out by punching them in the hardest place on their body should almost be impossible. Right. But Deontay Wilder's power, it's the scariest thing I've seen in a ring since Tyson.
I feel like this. I've seen other boxers with great power, James Toney, guys like that, but Deontay
seems different.
Put it like this, guy. Put it like this, people. Put it like this, everybody, viewers, listeners. Picture Deontay Wilder. Okay, his punch is like having an RPG and a silencer.
Yeah, like it's
like you're not gonna hear it, but when it hits you, your whole entire being is going to explode.
He resets people's psyches.
Right, right. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
It's amazing to watch, man.
It's a trip. It really is. It really
last dude you want to meet in that alley.
Right, for sure. Definitely first one you want to have with you in the dark alley, for sure. Top 5 NBA draft prospects. LaMelo Ball, who's out for 6 weeks with a foot sprain. Sprained his foot over in Australia last night, or Saturday night. James Wiseman from Memphis. Anthony Edwards from the University of Georgia. I watched this kid the other night. It was the Maui Invitational. This Thanksgiving 2 weeks ago. The kid went to the half with 4 points and he finished with 37 points. He had 33 points in the second half. Dog. He's a dog.
Anthony Edwards is a scoring machine.
Facts. R.J. Hampton, another guy who's over there in Australia. Don't know much about R.J. Hampton, but he's a top 5 draft prospect, so he's got to be good. He's got to be pretty good. I think that amateur hoopers going overseas, I think it's an upward trend. I think it's a good trend. I think it's something that should continue to happen because if there could ever be a league where kids could come out of high school and play football with other kids who are fresh out of high school and don't want to go to college, that shit would be so successful.
Yeah,
and then you could pay the kid right now.
The way Europe as a continent essentially develops their young talent in baseball and basketball and soccer especially.
Right.
They start you out at 13 or 14. They say, obviously you have pro potential. It's a better version of the AAU system we have here because AAU just puts everything on the individual. It doesn't teach you how to play within a team structure.
AAU teaches you how to finesse the game of basketball.
It teaches you how to score.
Right.
You know what I mean? It doesn't teach you great team basketball. Whereas these professional programs over there, yeah, you're playing at 13 or 14, but you're playing with grown men.
Right.
You're playing with dudes that you're not better than.
Even if you have more talent. It puts you in a different lane, if you will. If that makes sense.
I think it pushes your advancement forward. Look at Rubio, getting drafted at 17, coming in the league at 19. Has been a finished product since he's. Luka Doncic is 20 years old and is going to finish third in the MVP race this year, and is doing things that no other 20-year-old in the history of the league has done. It just comes with and he's got the slowest step back I've seen in my life. He plays an old man's game. He's gonna be able to do it for 20 more years.
Yeah, but the beauty of it is, somebody around Luka in his camp told him to play like that, or suggested he should learn. He should mold his game like that. He took it and ran with it. I don't blame him.
He's slow James Harden. It's so beautiful to watch.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Cole Anthony, I think, was the last prospect we were talking about. As a Carolina fan, I love watching him. He's super team-oriented, it seems. Yeah. I think he could take a lot more shots and probably should with the way UNC's offense is. But I like the fact that he tries to get his team involved even when they're not playing up to the level that Carolina's used to.
I can understand that. I can understand that wholeheartedly. I just feel like Cole Anthony's kind of waiting for the NBA to come on along because I don't think Carolina's going to do much like tournament time stuff like that. But we will see because college basketball's so early right now.
Yeah,
you can't say much about college basketball until after Martin Luther King Day, like mid-January.
There's no teams that are what they're going to be in March right now.
Right, I agree wholeheartedly. ACC Big Ten Challenge Review, Michigan lost to Louisville 58-43. Jordan Noor had 22 points, 12 rebounds. North Carolina got slapped by Ohio State 74-49. Ohio State looks like the best team in college basketball right now.
I was at that game live. Literally the worst offensive performance I've ever seen in my life from a Carolina Tar Heel team.
You heard it here first from a Carolina fan.
And UVA might have been a close second the other night.
I can go for that. My beloved Duke Blue Devils that I'm wearing on my T-shirt, loud and proud today. We beat the Michigan State Spartans as we normally do, 87-75. Vernon Carey II had 26 points, 11 rebounds, and Duke is 12-2. Coach K is 12-2 all time versus Tom Izzo. So Tom Izzo, you're officially our son. Just putting that out there. FSU was 7th overall. They got beat by Indiana, but Indiana basketball is Indiana basketball. I never expect for them to be mediocre. Alex Caruso talking some NBA talk now. Best spark plug in the NBA. I won't say too much about it. I don't know too much about him statistically, things of that nature. I just like Alex Caruso's game. He's a white ball on the Lakers. He look oblong as hell, but he balling, he make plays, and he would dunk on your ass. I love Alex Caruso. I love
6'7" bald Italian dude that has like 8 putback dunks this year.
Right. Like
LeBron said he's one of my favorite teammates I've ever played with because he knows the game so well.
Facts.
And that's high praise from LeBron.
Facts. What we're going to give to you guys next week, we're going to give you the current stat leaders of the NBA: points, assists, rebounds. We're also points, assists, rebounds, and blocks. From there, we will also be giving you guys the first week of a 3-week Christmas basketball special. Next week, we're going to be talking about the best player on the floor from all the different Christmas games that are going on. I think it's a 6-game lineup on Christmas or a 5-game lineup on Christmas. We're going to talk about the best player on the floor next week. So next week, like I said, we're going to do a big bowl special for college football. And for NBA, we're going to dive straight into Christmas because Christmas is right around the corner. So we know you guys want to know about those things. And please feel free to go on ESPN or NBA.com to figure out who's playing on Christmas, things of that nature. If you guys are that much more interested that you don't want to wait 7 days for our information. With that being said, I feel like it's going to be a 4-man Eastern Conference race. I think me and Steven could both agree to that. But to segue briefly into, well, not briefly, but to segue into kicking it old school, the thing that Steven has for me today, or for us today, or for us to discuss, is directly in relation to the Lakers being great again and the 4 teams in the Eastern Conference being great again that are great again. The Celtics, the Bucks, the Sixers, and the Raptors. So on to Steven, or sending to Steven, or segueing to Steven for kicking it old school.
So historically, there is not much connection between the Lakers and the Raptors other than Kobe dropping 81 points on them in 2006. So that team is not really connected. Same with the Bucks. They share one of the greatest players of all time, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar started on the Bucks, was drafted by them, won a championship there before he got to the Lakers, and won 5. All-time great at the Lakers, of course. What I want to talk about is the rivalry that is above any other NBA rivalry. It's not even close. Lakers, Celtics. They have met every decade in the NBA Finals, besides for the 90s when the Bulls and the Rockets dominated everything with the Pistons at the beginning of that conference. But I'm just going to go back through the years. Same with the 76ers. We'll start with them. They've had great matchups in the past. You're talking about 1980. You had Magic Johnson winning his first championship and his first MVP. 1982, again, they beat the 76ers. And this is a 76ers team with Moses Malone. 1983 76ers with Mo Cheeks, Moses Malone, Wilt Chamberlain is considered one of the best teams of all time. The Lakers met them again. And then in 2001, LA versus 76ers. The Lakers have dominated this matchup, obviously, but Shaq and Kobe, another all-time great team, playing a historically great team. Now, the big one, of course, LA versus Boston. This has happened 12 times, people. 12 separate times these two teams have played. The first 6 times they played, there's no MVP in this race, and Boston won all 6 of them. We're talking about, actually, Boston won the first 8 times they played in this series. The reason for that, name it Bill Russell, Bob Cousy, JoJo White. We're talking about Hall of Famers that are unmatched, Casey Jones. And then Red Auerbach, of course, coaching those Boston Celtics teams. But the Lakers losing 8 times to them between 59 and 84. 8 times in a row they lost. It creates a resentment, right? And that resentment's never fulfilled until you push back, until that rivalry isn't a rivalry until the other team can win. Right. It's like I like to tell state fans with Carolina and basketball, it's not a rivalry. Y'all never beat
Michigan, Ohio State is starting, in my eyes, to not become a rivalry.
It's getting that way.
Boat racing. I'm tired of seeing Michigan
8 straight years now? Whew.
That's bad.
All right, so 1985, the first year the Lakers are able to beat Boston. Kareem's your MVP. He's in his prime. He played 20 years. They played in 84. Larry Bird got his finals MVP in a win. 1969 was the year they met. The first year they ever did an NBA Finals MVP. The only year a losing player has won it. Jerry West averaged 34 points a game in the finals.
Who's also the logo, by the way, guys.
The logo, exactly. That's where you know Jerry West from. And then you get to the 80s. You have 85, Kareem won it. 87, the Lakers win again with Magic Johnson. They don't play again in the finals for 20 years, okay? Now, the 90s, dominated by MJ, Hakeem Olajuwon, Isaiah Thomas. You didn't have room for the Celtics in the East. The end of it, then you have the Lakers, the Shaq Kobe Lakers coming up through winning the three-peat. Could have had, like Kobe said a couple weeks ago, we might should have had 12 if we'd have stayed together, but we were too selfish between the two superstars there. And then 08, you had the big 3, the first big 3 in the NBA in a long time. Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen.
Really the original big 3 in my opinion.
Yeah, in the last 20 years. I guess before it was a lot of 2. Charles Barkley was young when he came in the league.
My original big 3.
It's Kareem, Worthy, and Magic.
Thank you.
Kareem, Worthy, that's my...
And then I was going to say DJ, McHale, and Bird. Or McHale, Bird, and Parrish.
Yep.
If you want to take away the point guard. But go ahead.
Dennis Johnson, agree. Well, one of the greatest defensive point guards of all time. And then Kobe, 2010, Kobe, Pau Gasol. Those are really the 2 cogs. Ron Artest and his defense before he was Meta World Peace was dropping 18 to 22 points a game and locking down the other team's best player. In this case, Paul Pierce. And that's the last time the Lakers won. I like talking about the history of these 2 teams because it's the NBA. It's what the NBA is. You're talking about 35 Hall of Famers between the 2 teams. 33 out of the 80 championships they've had now are Lakers or Celtics.
Right.
Just to give you a list of the amazing players that have played in this franchise. And once again, we're going to add LeBron and AD to that list. We're going to add Kemba Walker, who's finally on a successful team and has been amazing for 8 years now. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum have opportunity to be those all-time greats, get their name in the rafters. They're going to be there for a long time, it looks like. So going back to the 50s and 60s, it's all about JoJo White, Bob Cousy, Casey Jones, Bill Russell. Your Celtics dominated. Then you get up to the 80s where it's way better matchups, or the 70s even. Gail Goodrich, Jerry West, Wilt Chamberlain playing against Bill Russell in those teams. And then, of course, we get to the 80s, the best Celtics teams of all time. Like he was saying earlier, McHale, Parrish, Bird, Dennis Johnson. Great players. And then, like he said, maybe the original big three with them too. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, in my opinion, 2 of the top 5 players of all time. And then James Worthy, just to throw in there as a side piece, averaged over 23 points a game for his career. A great rebounder. Elgin Baylor was also in this on the Lakers at one time.
Right.
James, let's see. Kobe Bryant, Shaq, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Larry Bird. It doesn't get better than these 2 rivalries.
Right.
The Lakers are at 21-3 right now. The Celtics are at 16-5. I want to say, I got it written down right here. Yeah, the Celtics are at 16-5. They're 9-0 at home. The 76ers, another historic great matchup between the Lakers, 12-0 at home. The Lakers are on an 11-game road win streak. They're 9-1 in their last 10 overall. It looks like it's the Lakers or Clippers in the West. It looks like it's the Bucks, the Celtics. I personally think the Bucks don't have the firepower. They have Giannis, and I don't think Middleton's consistent enough to in the playoffs to put them over that next hump. Unfortunately, I love watching Giannis play. So I think it's between the Celtics and the 76ers, the Lakers and the Clippers. And I give the Lakers the edge purely because that's 7 home games for them. If they play a 7-game series against the Clippers, there's not a single game. I don't care what the floor is painted like. There's not a single game that LA doesn't own that stadium.
Right.
So kicking it old school, that's what I want to see. I want to see an old school Lakers-Celtics finals. Relive the glory days. They're going to be showing the 80s finals all over and over again on NBA greatest games highlights leading up to that finals. It'll be great. With historic players. It's not just it's kind of like back to the 60s. The Lakers got Wilt and Jerry West and Gail Goodrich. They had this dominant forces on the offensive and defensive side. But the Celtics got the team. They got the coach. They got Brad Stevens. They got Jason Tatum, just like they had Bob Cousy and Bill Russell.
It's a carbon copy of the same situation fast forwarded.
50 years later.
Right,
It's great, man.
I agree wholeheartedly.
I'm excited for the NBA this season and watching these historic matchups replay themselves.
Well, what I'll say is this, because I never like to interrupt your segment at all, and I always like to get information because you give me a lot of information that I don't know in the segments that you do for kicking old school. But when they get to a point of being in the finals this year, if that happens, I got the Lakers in 7 games. Oh, I lied. I got the Lakers in 6 games. Lakers got some firepower for your ass.
I was talking with my buddy, and I think the Clippers are slightly deeper in a sense that they have a guy that almost replaces besides for Kawhi and Paul George, everyone else can be interchangeable in the starting lineup, and they're going to give you about the same production. Montrez even more than Zubac will give you.
This is my thing. This is why I feel the Los Angeles Lakers are better than the Celtics. Go ahead.
Everyone on the Lakers knows their role already. 24 games into the season, which usually takes a LeBron team half the season to be great.
But he's dealing with veterans. He's dealing with guys
exactly.
Shit.
Dudes, intelligent, super intelligent basketball players, and they're, like you said, veterans. And young guys don't win championships in the NFL.
Now see, here's my kicker. This is the. I feel like that's all valid. I'm not knocking none of that. But what I will say, Hold on 1 second. Share it. Okay, let me pull up this last one for these last few minutes of the show. Sorry for the technical difficulties, guys. Try to keep everything live on my social media as we're filming. So sorry about that, guys. But I'll say this: the Clippers won't be better than the Lakers this year because they don't have anything to replicate Anthony Davis.
Nothing.
Period.
Did you watch the game last night?
I didn't. I got
50 points.
Oh yeah, AD dropped
with
50 pieces. Yeah, facts. I saw the highlights of it this morning. I was halfway asleep listening to it.
LeBron had 32 and 13. I mean, the way those two guys play together, pick and roll with us, it's unguardable.
I agree.
You have to throw 4 guys at them to stop them, and then you're leaving Danny Green or Avery Bradley or Kuzma in the corner or JaVale for a lob or Dwight Howard making a resurgence, I think, is a huge deal.
Right.
If he's going to average 12 and 7 for this team off the bench playing 20 minutes a night, they can't ask for more. And he's averaging a block and a half a game with the same minutes.
Right.
I agree with you. The veteran presence on that team. And if by some off chance Boogie does get healthy enough to come back for the playoffs, that's another dude that can drop 20 a night.
I agree with that.
I
got two things I want to speak about with the
Lakers.
NBA before we segue to the last part of what we're going to talk about for the day. David Fizdale got fired in New York. Not necessarily. I'm happy that it happened, but James Dolan should just sell the team. I'm tired of the New York Knicks being bad at basketball.
Isn't that awful when an owner has so much power and you know he's the problem? Everyone knows he's the problem, and you can't get rid of him because he owns it. It's his team.
Exactly.
He gets to run it into the dirt however he feels like.
That's mind-boggling.
Still a top 10 most valuable franchise in sports. Period on earth.
Right, because
somehow
in the city of New York, can't beat it.
It's crazy.
Kevin Love is being open to trade talks in the NBA by the Cleveland Cavaliers. I hope the Pistons get on line one because if we can get Andre Drummond, Blake Griffin, Kevin Love at the 3, and we have Derrick Rose at the 1, and then we just get somebody to play the 2. I think we'll at least make the playoffs in Detroit.
What do you think about him going to the Bucks? A little bit more firepower as a.
I think a lot of that. I think of that like a ridiculously skilled version of the Lopez brother they had last year.
Yeah.
Except he's not that tall.
I mean, if you put you got Lopez at 5, him at 4, Giannis at 3.
That's my point.
Defensively,
I'm saying.
That's a lot of length to deal with.
That's what I'm saying. I agree, but for the same reason, because we in a division though. So for the same reason, I need Detroit to come get my boy. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's why I would love to have that happen. College football, college basketball. Billy Donovan Court at Florida. The University of Florida has decided to make an announcement that they'll name their court after Billy Donovan. The greatest thing he ever did at Florida was go back-to-back national championships with Al Horford, Corey Brewer, and Joakim Noah at the University of Florida in the mid-2000s. Michigan and the University of Kentucky will play against each other next year in London. I can't think of a really super dope college basketball matchup of two blue blood programs like that ever take place anywhere like that in the UK. So that would be very interesting to see. I'm kind of interested to see what the UK feels about college basketball.
That's what I was about to say.
General.
What's the fan base for college basketball in the UK?
But here's the thing about basketball. Football. True, but here's the thing about it in the UK. Emeka Okafor, Ben Gordon, Luol Deng. Those are 3 people that I know for sure that have citizenship in Great Britain. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a thing over there, but how much of a thing is it over there? It's kind of what I'm
considered like the second biggest sport in Europe.
Right.
But I'm not sure if England is that big into basketball. I know Spain, Portugal, France, Italy. I know they are, but you just don't hear much about Great Britain. I don't think the population is big enough to field a great basketball team either.
I agree. This last segment is just hot points. Now, hot points are going to come from multiple different sports, all in one segment, and it's going to be situations in hot points where I'm not going to talk about the same sport. I'm going to be talking about things that have taken place in the last 7 days from one broadcast to the next that take place that are important things that need to be talked about, but they're going to be from different sports. So here we go. Antoine Woods, the starting nose tackle for the Dallas Cowboys, he got arrested last weekend for marijuana possession. One of the reasons why he didn't play in the last game for the Dallas Cowboys. Josh Shaw, defensive back for the Arizona Cardinals, was idiotic enough to get caught gambling on NFL games in season by the NFL. He's been suspended for 2020.
If you're in the NFL, don't you have a guy? You say, hey man, I'm placing bet. If you gamble, I place bets under your name. You're just my guy. I'll give you 10% or whatever.
But the sad reality of that situation, man, you'd be surprised how many people are fucking dumbasses.
Dumb, man. Just dumb.
Just pure dumbass.
They don't have a dude around them to tell them how things work.
All I know is, man, if I had more money, than what I got in my pocket right now, man, I know I wouldn't move. I know that to see all them guys move bad the way they do, I wouldn't move bad like that. That's all I know.
It's wild, man.
Lamar Jackson, once again, he's always popping up. You know, the white sleeve bandit, as I think I'm gonna call him the next couple of weeks on the show for obvious and unobvious reasons. He gave Pope Francis an autographed Lamar Jackson jersey, so now Pope Francis can say he's an athlete. It's pretty cool. I have to mention this because I'm sitting next to a Green Bay Packer lifetime fan. Josh Sitton retired last week as a Green Bay Packer. 4-time Pro Bowler, the long-haired bandit, if you will.
Quick shout-out.
Exactly. UCF grad.
Thank you, Josh Sitton. You kept Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers relatively healthy.
And at one time, in particular, for about a 3-year span, him and TJ Lane were the best guard combo in the league.
Absolutely.
So, if I haven't...
But you went to the Bears. I gotta rag you for that a little bit.
Facts. I mean, but you know, football, business is business. So you gotta keep the two separate. But that doesn't take away from what you just said. So I understand that wholeheartedly. Carmelo Anthony was named the Western Conference Player of the Week, and in the week that he was named Western Conference Player of the Week, I got to clap for that.
Congrats! I love Melo.
Get
buckets, buddy.
He had 22 points a game, 7 rebounds, and 2.3 assists in that Player of the Week. And now his contract has been guaranteed for the whole entire season by the Portland Trail Blazers. So
that's a great pickup by them. I think Nas Little, he's a freshman or a rookie from Carolina. I think him learning behind Melo for a year or two, that's going to be a perfect situation.
I think it's going to help out. I think it's going to help Nasir's little game. Like it's going to help him. It's going to help his game like ridiculous amounts. But we're talking about two different players.
And in practice, he gets to guard Melo. Makes you even better at defense.
Facts. I agree with that.
I think it's going to help with this.
Because he ain't going to play no defense on you.
Progression.
He gonna have some offense for you to D up. So
yeah,
that's
exactly.
fair. That's fair. In NHL news, not a lot of NHL news. But I will be bringing out more NHL news going forward. That's hockey, the National Hockey League, NHL. John Carlson has 40 points in his first 30 games as a defenseman. Why does this matter? He's a defenseman for the Washington Capitals. The only other two defensemen to ever accomplish a point like this or accomplish a feat like this in hockey are Bobby Orr, who's arguably the greatest hockey player of all time. Y'all probably don't know who the hell I'm talking about, but it's cool. I'll give you guys information next week. Because we'll be talking about NHL going forward. Bobby Orr and Al MacInnis. Slight story about Al MacInnis with me personally. I'm a huge hockey fan. Yes, I'm a black guy, so it's like, wow, he's a hockey fan. Go figure. But the thing of it is, I remember as a 12-year-old in 2002, the year after he had this great point season with the St. Louis Blues, hardest slap shot competition. The hardest slap shot I've ever seen with my own 2 eyes came from Al MacInnis. He shot 127 mile an hour slap shot in the hardest slap shot contest and won it by like 10 mile an hour. So Al MacInnis, if you're watching, if you listen, if you see this man, I just remember those hard slap shots from back in the day. I believe we have come to the end of today's show, guys. I want to thank everybody for watching. I want to thank everybody for supporting. Glad you back. Glad you feeling better. Hey man, I got to shout out to Jersey for a second. Now I ain't gonna lie, I'm a big sports fan, so I know what it look like when it ain't the real one. My boy got the NFL patch with the throwback, got the replica on the bottom.
Shout out to my friend John Costa and his wonderful mom, Miss Carrie, for getting me this jersey for my birthday a couple years ago.
Right, you know what I'm saying? So I wanted to just shout him out right quick because anytime he wear anything about these raggedy ass Packers, he always come correct. So I'm not mad at that. But
oh yeah, got the Brett Favre. This is my favorite player of all time. Funnest player to watch.
Facts. Brett Favre is easily one of the funnest players watching all the football.
You never know what's going to happen.
Facts. And going forward for next week, there won't be much college football being played this weekend, so that's kind of The Army-Navy game will be Saturday. I guess for the sake of talking about it, because we're sports media guys, go Navy, beat Army. I don't know.
I'm go Army. My dad and my brother are in the Army.
Well, so now we have a discrepancy. We have a discrepancy. But Other than that, guys, this has been the 5th episode of Untied Jordans coming to you live. Once again on Instagram Live, thank you guys. Facebook Live, thank you guys. And once again on YouTube, thank you guys for listening as well. Please like, subscribe, and share the Untied Jordans YouTube channel. Please like, subscribe, and share the Untied Jordans YouTube page. And please like and subscribe and share and repost the Untied Jordans Facebook page.
Absolutely, everybody.
Once again, my name is Jordan Mosley. This is my co-host,
Steven Untied. Love entertaining y'all. Have a good week.
You guys have a good weekend, man. Enjoy your Monday.
All right.
That end segue was so